Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Jamie Woods back at it with episode 14 of Real Talk. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I have a very special guest on for today, man. My boy, he's been doing this for a while now. He's been doing this for a couple years. He's been all around the world. We're talking about South America, Europe. He even went to the Ukraine. This guy went everywhere, man. Africa. He's currently in Africa right now. This man's been doing big things, man. I love his content. Over 8K on YouTube. The man that's reminding you guys to stay focused. Of course, none other than my boy, Jay Focus. What's going on, my man?
Hey, what's happening, man? It's a pleasure to be here. Shout out to you. I like that intro. You sauced it up, man. You got people just eased into the mood of what the show is about to be today.
Thank you, man. That's the goal, man. I try to up the game every time, man. You know what I mean? And we're definitely going to up the game today, man, because I got you on here, man. But, Jay, I know I had a little bit of an intro for you, man, but if you could introduce yourself for the audience.
Okay, so I'm Jay Focus. If you don't know, you can check out my channel on YouTube. Very easy to find. I cover the entire world. Currently, most of my content has been coming from Africa because that's where I'm at the moment. So right now I've been doing a 1-year tour of Africa, staying on the continent, not leaving to catch air, not anything. No connecting flights in Paris, straight up in Africa the whole time. East, South, Central, all over. I'm even hitting North Africa, all parts of Africa. So that's what I've been focused on lately. But on my channel, you can find content from Latin America. You can find content from Europe, Ukraine, like he mentioned. Oh man, it's just like whatever place you're fascinated about in the world, there's probably a video about it, or if not, it's coming very shortly. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel and follow all the adventures.
Facts, man. He the Indiana Jones, man. I don't know if you guys seen his intro. He's Indiana Jones inspired, man. Is that the inspiration behind the intro, by the way?
I mean, yeah, there was a little bit of that flavor from it, you know, that kind of a general theme. But I won't say that's like what made me start traveling or anything like that. I wasn't like a huge Indiana Jones fan, but I thought if I'm going to do a travel adventure kind of a show or a channel, then that would be a good way to start your intro. So that's where that came from. If you want to know a little bit of background on me and what took me to Spain, I can give you guys the brief version. So when I was about 18, like freshly turned 18, I was staying in Southern California. And if you've never been to Southern California, you may not know this, but the border with Mexico is super close. So if you're in LA, San Diego, Orange County, you can be in Mexico, depending on what the traffic is doing, in about 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours. So me and my brother, we used to take trips and we would just like run across the border for the weekend because I'm 18. I can't drink in the States. He's a little bit older. He can drink. So like the only place we could drink together and like spend the night, go out to the bars and stuff with his friends was over in Mexico. So we would go over there. And that was when I first kind of opened my ear to Spanish, the language, right? And that kind of just like triggered something in me where it was like, all right, this is a really cool vibe. Like it's so close to the States, but at the same time, it's a whole nother world, right? And so I was like, Mexico's dope, but like, what else is there, right? And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to explore like a little bit more each time. And so I went from Mexico. Mexico was my first country. I think my second country was Costa Rica. And then I think my third country was DR, right? Ooh. Everybody knows DR, everybody loves DR, but I feel like I was kind of a pioneer because at that time, nobody was really talking about DR. You might have heard a little bit of Rio talk back then, and you might have heard like, some other places, Asia, a little bit of like Germany or whatever, but nobody was really like on that DR wave. And so I took my little bit of Mexicanish Spanish and went to DR, and it was like, Papi, we're going to change you, ya tú sabes, you got to talk like us, right? You look like us, you got to talk like us. So like, I was like, que lo que, like I started to get the Dominican, swag, vibe, like way of life. And I was like, oh man, this is like a whole nother world. Like you got the Spanish, Central American vibe, and then you got the Caribbean Spanish vibe. And I was like, man, like this Spanish speaking world is like way bigger than I had any idea at that time, right? And so from there, I just kind of like worked my way down Central America, South America, and then I was like, all right, what is left? Like I kind of seen the majority of the Latin speaking countries at that time, and I was like, well, where else can I go to? I went to the bottom, all the way to Argentina, guys. Like that's the end of the road. After that, you're in Antarctica. There's nowhere else to go in Spanish speaking world after Argentina. So it's like, what's left, right? And I was thinking about Spain. I had never been to Europe before at that time. And I was like, why don't I take a vacation? You know, even though these flights are closer to the States, you know, everybody kind of knows what to expect. What's good in Europe? You know what I'm saying? So I was like, all right, I'm going to be bold. I'm going to roll the dice. I'm going to go out to Europe. So I did my first Euro trip, I think was 3 weeks. And in that trip, I did Barcelona. Barcelona was my very first European city
That's a
that I
good
visited.
start.
What's that?
That's
What's
a
that?
very good start.
Yeah, man. Yeah, incredible start. That's a good introduction to Europe. So Barcelona was my first introduction to Europe. Then after that, Mallorca. I did Mallorca, the little island. If you look at the Mediterranean, you've got Spain, then you got the Med, and on the Med, you've got a bunch of little islands, right? And they belong to Spain. So I went to Mallorca as well. And then, you know, I did a little bit of Northern Europe, like Sweden and stuff like that. But, you know, there was something really special about Spain because I already had the Spanish culture a little bit. I had the language and I was able to navigate it in a way that was just unique to the rest of Europe that I got to see. And Barcelona was just like, wow, like this is so different from Latin America. Like Latin America is cool, but this is like the OG, like where they got a lot of stuff from. Of course, you know, they came to the Americas and it all mixed and it changed up. But like you could see the roots of a lot of different things. And it was a wave, man. It was like the European Miami. That's like
Yep,
the way I
that's what
could
I
break
like
it
to
down.
say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way I would break it down in Barcelona. If you've never been to Spain, to Europe, think of Miami, but Europeanized. You know what I'm saying? You may not see as many Ferraris, but there's a little bit more classiness to it. You know, it's not like it's tacky or cheesy or whatever. Like some aspects of Miami can be. You got the water there, you've got the vibes, you got the architecture, you got the history, you got the women. You know, you got the women out there, man.
From all around Europe too.
All around the world, my guy. Not just Europe, man. I've People don't know. Spain, the variety you're going to see in Barcelona is second to none. It's the same level you're going to see in New York. It's the same level you're going to see in Paris. Um, you could walk down the street, meet a Moroccan girl, turn the corner, meet a girl from Kazakhstan, from Russia, from Colombia, from
Facts.
you freaking name it. Like there's no limit to the experiences, the kind of people and things that you can touch when you're in Barcelona. What do you think about that?
You said a lot of great stuff, man. I've always told people that I believe Barcelona is the Miami of Europe. In fact, I prefer Barcelona over Miami because I think Miami is so much superficial, materialistic. Like everyone's so fake in Miami. Not no offense to anyone that's from Miami, but that's the vibe that I get from Miami. But in Barcelona, I don't sense that. Like, sure, there's a lot of annoying people, a lot of partiers that do a lot of crazy things in Barcelona. But Barcelona, everyone's more down to earth. Everyone's
Mhm.
cool. Everyone's trying to socialize. Yeah, you're right. It's a variety of people. You have people there from Russia, people there from Morocco. And let me tell you something about the Moroccan girls, man.
Yeah,
They're
talk about it.
beautiful. They're drop dead beautiful, man. People don't talk about Moroccan girls enough. I met a couple Moroccan girls out there in Barcelona.
We
There's a
have to
ton of
keep it a
Moroccan
secret,
people in
man. We might
Barcelona.
have to keep it a secret. They may not
Yeah,
be
you know
ready for
what?
the
Let me keep my
Moroccan
mouth
chick.
shut on that one.
Yeah,
Let's just
man.
say the Moroccan girls are different. And then
Yeah.
the Spanish women themselves. You know, like so if you're looking for a variety in terms of dating, Barcelona's the place for you. If you're looking
Mm.
for a place that has like I'm talking about party all night, all day, all night, all day, go to the beach in the morning to watch the sunrise, man, Barcelona ain't like honestly, Barcelona is my favorite city in all of Europe, possibly maybe in all of the world. And this is
Wow.
coming
Okay.
from a Madrid fan. I'm a Madrid fan. Madrid should be my city, but of course we'll get to Madrid a little bit later on. But let me
Yeah.
address some of these comments over here. So we got a true to life. Let's go. Of course, let's go. We got Ozzy saying salute Jay. Your fans came
Salute.
up here, man. They came in strong today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, we got my man over here saying the man himself. Yeah. Uh Ozzy says Barcelona on my list for sure. Yes, put it on your list. It should be number one on your list.
Yeah.
Uh
Absolutely.
we got you stayed talking to me about all the women around the world, Uncle Jay. uh yeah, so he says been to Barcelona twice to definitely it's definitely a place to be. Yeah, definitely, man, 100%. Ozzy says everyone seems to love Barcelona. Yeah, man, it's a vibe out there, man. It's just a vibe. Like, I guess we can get to cost of living a little later on, but yeah, it has its cons. One of them being, I believe, it's much more expensive than other places out in Spain, but it's still cheaper than the United States. And I would
It's
say that's the
relative,
only
right?
con. And the
It's
pickpocket.
relative. So if you're used to paying Miami prices, you're used to paying New York prices, you'll go to Barcelona and you won't blink an eye. But
Hmm.
if you're used to maybe, I'm trying to think of a good
Like South
example.
America,
Maybe, yeah,
Colombia.
maybe Colombia, it's going to be more expensive than Colombia, but
Hmm.
it's not like you get what you pay for at the same
Exactly.
time, to get that kind of big international experience and you're getting safety that you're not going to get on the same level in Colombia and some other places. So it's very good value for money when you look at what you're getting for the amount that you're paying. But that being said, if you're trying to save some money, I would tell you to book your things in advance. If you go like last minute, like, okay, in a week, I'm going to go to Barcelona. Yeah, you're going to get slapped when it comes to prices for like hotels and wherever you're going to stay. But if you plan that out like a month, you're going to get way better deals. You're going to have much more flexibility and availability because it's a very popular city, as you can imagine. So you're going to have first dibs if you plan it out a little bit better.
No, facts, man. And I mean, I guess since we're on this topic, we still got another comment here, but what I do, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of planning things is I'm a little, I guess, lazy. So what I do is I go into Airbnb experiences. I book myself a bunch of stuff. Like if you're a solo traveler, one piece of advice I can give you is try to go on Airbnb experiences and try to book a bar crawl or something like that. Like there's a ton of bar crawls in Barcelona, a ton of them. You get to meet a ton of people. Like that's exactly where I met the Moroccan girl too. That's the crazy part.
Okay.
And it was a Brazilian girl too. It was a variety of people. We talking about like people from Brazil, Morocco, Russia, Ukraine, like everyone, the Netherlands, Germany, man. Those German girls are out and about over there in Barcelona, man.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Heavy,
telling you, them
heavy
German
numbers.
girls, man. I had a beautiful curly hair German girl approach me one day, asking me for some odd reason if I sold, like if she was looking for like Molly or something. I don't know what it
Yeah,
was about
yeah.
me, and maybe it was
I'm
the
not
way I was
surprised,
dressed.
man. I'm
I,
not surprised.
yeah, because I was wearing, I kind of dressed a little mafioso that day because I was kind of going out for dinner. And she just approached me thinking that I sold for some reason. Say, hey, you sell in English? And I'm like, no, but you want to talk? You want to try to get a drink?
Bro,
Like,
I get that same experience, man. Not only in Spain, that's not a Spain thing. That's just a European thing. They see someone with a little bit of melanin, they like, yeah, he got to be connected some kind of way. Like maybe he don't sell, but his brother sells or his homie sells or something. So yeah, man.
yeah, and my boy over here says, you me 1414 says somebody said Barcelona babes are cheapskates. Really? What do you think about that? What do you think about that, Jay?
I don't even know what that means, man. I don't. What does that
Just trying to
mean?
say they don't cheap, they don't want to spend money. I mean, my opinion is they're like that all around the world. No offense, like
Yeah,
there be a lot of girls that
exactly.
don't spend a dime. They don't spend a dime when they go out. So
Yeah, very few women want to reach into their purse. I mean, maybe you get that a little bit in Northern Europe, like Scandinavia, because they're like super into equality and they don't like
mhm.
to feel like a dude is, I don't know, I don't want to say whatever you want to call it. They don't like to be under a dude. So yeah, them they really will be offering to like split the bill like off rip. Like you don't even have to have that combo. They're just gonna pull out money. But other than Northern Europe, you're really not gonna find women anywhere in the world who are just trying to part with money. It doesn't usually work like that.
But you know what I heard though, because I have a friend that's Dutch. She's from Rotterdam in the Netherlands, and she said there's a saying about, I forgot what it went, like how the saying went, but supposedly in the Netherlands it's perfectly fine and normal for like dates to be split up. So the woman pays half, the man pays half. Sometimes the woman will pay for the whole thing. Supposedly that's normal in the Netherlands.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. That like I was saying, that's up there in the north. And they carry that with them wherever they go. So like I've met many of those girls in the States and they operate the exact same way. They're like, hey, I will not let you pay for anything, Jay, or how much was the bill? Like they'll ask right away. They'll be like, let me see what it is, and they'll grab their credit card and they'll swipe. So yeah, it's a very unique thing around the world actually, because they're outliers. They're the exception to the rule.
Ozzy says, "Damn, I gotta visit Northern Europe." So here's my opinion. So actually, you know what? Let me ask you a question, Jay, because you've been all around, man. Would you recommend Northern Europe? Like I'm talking about all the like Sweden, like Switzerland, all those
Mhm.
places for like black brothers. Do you recommend like those countries for people like that? Because I heard that in those specific countries they love black men for some reason. They love people of color in
Yeah,
those
yeah.
countries.
Oh, yeah, it's true. It's no cap. It's no cap. I would say they're fun places to go for a short visit. So let's say you and your homie want to go out there for a week. Y'all want to hit Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. Let's say y'all do 2 weeks. Y'all want to hit those three countries. That's the best way to do it, and you're gonna get really good results if you do it with a partner. You can do it on your own, but it's much easier in those areas to just because if you're out, they're going to hear you speaking in American English to, your homie, because, we have our slang, we got our different rhythm that we're going to have. And it's going to come out more when you're in a group, right? So if you're with one or two homies and you guys are, yo, what's good? What these women looking like out here? They're going to see that from a mile away and they love it, bro. Like you have no idea how much they love that. And you're not going to be coming out of your pocket for anything as far as drinks and stuff. They might buy you a drink when you're out on the town or whatever. The only thing that's a little bit expensive is going to be your accommodation. But other than that, everything is, as far as going out on dates and stuff, you don't even need to do dates. Like there, it's a straight up hookup culture.
Yeah, that's what
So
I heard, bro. Like
yeah,
they'll
man, if you
leave
go
with
out to
them
the
and
bar,
go home.
just like you go to the bar and at the end of the night, you don't want to go home alone. They don't want to go home alone. It's that type of energy out there.
Man, I may
So
have to
you
go
got to
over there.
see it. What's that? Was that?
I may have to go over there, man. But you know where else I
Yeah.
heard is really good, but unfortunately there's a war going on. I heard the Ukraine is amazing, and even Russian women themselves.
Mhm.
I used to date a Russian woman. I was around a lot of Russian women and Ukrainian women, and they have a thing for colored folk. I don't know what they have
Mm,
they have a thing for colored
for
men.
sure.
Like every time I was around them, it was like they were looking at me. They were curious. They were like, Like it wasn't a normal look. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I'm all that either, but I think they
Mhm.
don't encounter us enough. You know what I mean? Because these type of countries, the Ukraine, Russia, there's barely any black folk out there, barely any colored folk
Yes.
out there. And if they are, they're probably from a different country, maybe studying there. So when they finally meet someone like us, they go crazy. You know what I mean? Especially with the swag that we got, the way we talk. They love Americans, So I guess once and on top of that, they're going through a lot of situations with the war because a lot of
Mhm.
their men unfortunately are dying. So there's a lot more women now than men. So a lot of them are like in desperate need to find a husband. So once the war does end, and hopefully it ends very soon, man, Ukraine may be a spot to hit up for sure.
Yeah, I'll tell you just real quick about that is, one way that I know whatever country I go to, I'm gonna have a fun time in is how they treat me when I come through immigration, right?
Mhm.
So I remember like the first couple of times I went through immigration in DR and like they were like smiling and stuff. Like I had a female like customs agent or whatever, and she was like low key flirting with me as I entered the country. So I was like, if she's flirting with me before I even, got my luggage,
To
it's
see mad
going
impressed.
down. It's going down in this country, man. And the same thing happened to me in Ukraine because I had a female like customs agent and she was young. She was like maybe 23 or something. And she was like, I really like your hair. And it was shorter then, but I was like, I haven't even got in your country yet. You're already complimenting me. Like, how could this go bad? It's just not possible.
My boy Jay's about
And
to pick up some girl's number even before he even gets out of the airport, man.
it was crazy, man. It was crazy. So I love when I can touch down somewhere and I just feel good energy and positivity like right off rip. So yeah, man, Ukraine, when it's better, once that thing passes, absolutely. If you want to check it out, go for it.
Also, I'd recommend because I know a couple people out there, Kazakhstan, which I think you've been to Kazakhstan, right, Jay?
Yeah.
And where else? There's Kazakhstan, Belarus.
Hmm.
Honestly, I think the most beautiful women, because I know Russian and Ukrainian women get all the hype, but Belarus has a lot of underrated women. I think in some ways they're more beautiful than Russian Ukrainian women. It's super underrated in Belarus.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't spend that much time in Belarus. I was there just a little over a week, but it was a good place. As far as like the reception that I got and the energy and stuff, I never felt like, they didn't want me there or, anything negative. I just felt like I was welcomed, overall. I was rolling with some other guys and I was the only, melanated brother. And I still felt like there was no difference as far as treatment, et cetera, out there. It was cool.
So I'm reading Said's comment, and I think she's very appreciative of you visiting the country. She says, "Thanks for touring our country."
Yeah, Namibia was a great country. I've done a lot of content on Namibia, so if you want to see that, that's on my channel. I think I did at least 15 videos. So some countries I'll be in them and maybe I'll do 2 videos, 3 videos. It really just depends on how much I'm feeling the country
Mhm.
and the energy the country is giving back to me, because it goes both ways, right?
Right.
And I just felt like there was so much that I could cover and so much I could talk about in Namibia. And like you could see with the comment, the people there, they embraced me as well. So hey, it was mutual, and I have to come back. I have to go back down to
You
Namibia.
said you did 25.
25.
You
Wow,
submitted
I did
25 videos.
25. See, I don't even know how many I did. I know it was a lot though. I know it was more than most countries.
Man, your people love you, man. They coming out strong today, man. They love you. That's good.
That's
I'm
awesome,
glad to
man.
see that,
Yeah.
man. But let's get back to Spain. We're here for Spain. I know
Yes, sir.
we
That's the
Spain,
topic.
Europe.
That's the topic.
We're here for Spain because Spain is
Okay,
a fantastic country. It is worth it's worth visiting, definitely. But let me ask you
for
something,
sure.
because you were talking about like different accents briefly. You were talking about
Mhm.
like the Mexican Spanish and the Dominican
Yeah.
Spanish, which are two different things, right? The way Mexicans talk and Dominicans talk is two different things. But
Yeah.
another thing that I realized when I went out to Spain is just how different they speak it. I feel like their Spanish is pure. It's where it
Yes.
originated, right? But also depending where you go, it's different accents, and different languages, even in Spain itself, different forms of Spanish, I guess you could say. Like I know in Barcelona they speak Catalonian, where it's
Mhm.
like I can sort of understand what they're saying, but not really because it's a different language. Can you talk about what your experience was like in Spain when it came to different accents and languages out there? Like, was it hard for you to pick up?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I was thinking about that. Like, I wanted to make sure I addressed that, especially for people who've never been to Spain, because if you grew up in the States, right, you learn about Spanish and you think Spain, Spanish, like you think France, French, you think Germany, German, right? It's simple, right? But until you actually go to Spain, you don't realize that it's not as simple as Spain Spanish, because in Spain, the language we call Spanish is Castellano. That's what they call it there.
Correct.
And Castellano is basically, Spain started as kingdoms. So the central region, like where Madrid is, this was the Castile region. Well, it's right by Madrid. But anyway, that central area was where Castellano, which we call Spanish in the Americas, came from. But there were other languages in Spain at the same time, and they're still there today. So, for example, in Barcelona, this area was completely separate. It was its own kingdom. And they still kind of have an independence movement to this day. So everyone in Spain understands Spanish, Castellano, but in regional areas, they have their own languages too, which sometimes dominate above Spanish. So in Barcelona, this region is Catalonia. Think of it as a state in America. Like imagine if Texas had a language called Texan. Like they understood English, but they
Mhm.
also had Texan as their real language. So that's kind of how it is in Barcelona. So the average guy born and raised in Barcelona on the street, at home he does not speak Spanish. He speaks Castellano. But when he's out in the street, he understands Spanish. I mean, I'm sorry, he speaks Catalan at home, but on the streets he speaks Spanish or whatever. So all that to say, they have their own regional identity, their own culture, and their own language. Now, when you go to Madrid, that's straight up Spanish land. You don't have to second guess it. It's the same Spanish that they speak in Latin America. And then also in the northeast of Spain, you have another language. It's called Basque, which is completely different than Spanish, and it's completely different from Catalan. It's a super old language. I met a dude who speaks Basque, and it sounded like he was speaking like an alien language. It doesn't sound like German. It doesn't sound like anything you've ever heard before. In the area up where they speak that, there's a city called Bilbao. I'm sure you heard of Bilbao before, right? Or no? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I heard it
And
about.
then yeah, and then also if you go to the other side of Spain, closer to Portugal in the north, they have their own language called Galician. And this region is called Galicia. And this language is like Portuguese. So it's not as simple as you're in Spain, people speak Spanish. Yeah, they understand Spanish, but depending on which little region you're in, they also have another language which will dominate. And it's not just they speak it, you'll see it in the signs too. Like you'll walk down the street in Barcelona, and instead of saying calle, it'll say like carrer. So like they have little things like that where you like it'll throw you off a little bit. You'll be like, hold up, I
So
didn't learn this in high school. I didn't learn this in university or whatever. It's a whole different concept, but it's cool. It really makes every region of Spain have its own identity. So if you lived in Barcelona for a year, you're not going to know that much about what it's like living in Sevilla for a year. And I could talk about Sevilla because that's one of my favorite cities in Spain. We can get to that one, unless you have more questions.
Man, hey, is it AZ, Aussie? Jay dropping knowledge. Yes, 100%, man. Because some of the things you said, I didn't even know. I was like, damn, my boy's knowledgeable as hell, man. But it's true, man. It's like anywhere you go, it's almost like a different country in Spain. Like Spain is so
Yeah,
diverse and unique. And that's what I love about Spain because I think everyone just assumes everyone speaks Spanish and the Spanish is like Latin America, but it's
sure.
not. It's so different. The way they speak, it's so different. Their slang is different. And in Spain, one thing that I noticed that when they spoke, like their filler
Mhm.
word in Spain is vale. They'll say vale, 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 vale.
Vale, that's
And
right.
I was like,
Yeah,
what the
vale.
hell was vale? What is that? Like, 'cause I didn't understand what the hell that was. I was like, vale.
Did you
Damn.
notice? Not to cut you off. Did you notice sometimes? Maybe this is more in the southern regions, but instead of saying, in English, we'll say like, right? People say like. They'll throw that in as a filler word. In some parts of Spain, they'll say en plan. That's like their filler word. So they'll say, o sea, like we went to la fiesta en plan, whatever, en plan, and they'll just like keep repeating this word, and it's kind of like their version of like. So yeah, you'll notice the little things are different like that.
So you me 1414 says, what is nightlife like in Spain? What do you think, Jay?
So the nightlife in Spain is second to none, man. Especially if you are one of those people who you want to see the sun come up. Spain is the country for you if that's your vibe, man. Um, you would be hard pressed to find a club that closes before 4 in the morning. Like it doesn't really exist. So typically, the way Spanish people do their night is super late. So what they'll do is they'll have their dinner maybe around 10:30. It
Mm-hmm.
depends, somewhere around there is when they're like, okay, it's time to eat 10:30, then after the meal, and they take their time with the meal. I don't think they're like rushing, like, oh, we got to be at the club at 11:30. No, no, sir. No, they take their time, they have their meal, they talk, they chill. Then after that, they're like, all right, let's go to some bars maybe. So then they'll go to bars. And then after the bars, when it's like 1:30, 2, then it's like, all right, let's go to a nightclub now. So the nightclub will go until who knows, right? It could go to 8, it could go to 6, it could go till there's no one left. So I don't think there's another nightlife on the planet that really can go toe to toe with Spanish nightlife. They say Berlin also has that same energy. I was in Berlin, but only briefly. But I can co-sign for Spain all night long. Any kind of variety that you're looking for. If nightlife is your thing, I think you'll enjoy Spain.
100% agree with you, man. I think people laugh at me because I've told them Spain, in terms of all the countries I've been to, Spain is number one. I still think
Mhm.
it's true, even after going to Brazil, which Brazil, I would say, is one of those countries I'd put in that top 10, top five in terms of nightlife.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially Rio de Janeiro. But I still think Barcelona's number one. And that's because I don't know, I just feel safer in
Mhm.
Spain, which is
Yeah, you can
important. I
let
feel
your
like you
guard
can
down
let
a
loose
little bit.
more. You can let
Yeah,
loose knowing that it's
exactly.
safe for the most part. And on top of that, like everything's like depending where you're at, like there's a location in Barcelona itself called La Ramblas, I think it's called.
Mhm.
So it's this huge street, and there's a bunch of bars and stuff there. Like I was literally there, and you can hop from one bar to the next. Like it's phenomenal, man. Everything is different from the next. You meet a bunch of different type of people from all around Europe, all around the world. I thought the drinks were pretty cheap. Like they say, there's a saying in Spain that says that alcohol is cheaper than water. And in some cases, it's true. Like I honestly, there were times I spent more on water than I did on alcohol. As crazy as that sounds. But no, I think Spain is the country. And another city, which we're gonna get to Madrid later, but Madrid is so slept on in terms of nightlife. I think the best night I've ever had out in Spain wasn't even in Barcelona, it was in Madrid.
Okay.
Yo, facts, man. I have a vlog on it too. If you guys don't believe me,
Let
literally,
let me
I
ask you
went.
this.
Yeah, what's up?
Did you mess with the tinto de verano?
I didn't even try it.
Ah, okay. Yeah,
I didn't even try
you'll
it.
like that
You're
one.
talking about
You
like
like
the
the
same,
tinto.
like a drink, right? The same
Yeah,
sangria.
yeah, yeah. It's like sangria, but it's slightly different. The
Yeah, the
tinto.
locals have that. The
Hmm.
locals have, yeah, because I didn't even know that was even a thing. And so I was talking to one of the locals and said, hey, don't have sangria, have this. But I never got to try it out. But I heard it's phenomenal. Like, but all I did was just have like, well, if I was eating out, I would have sangria. If I was in the bars, I would just have like shots or whatever drinks. It didn't matter, but I had a good time, man. It was great. Madrid, I thought was amazing, man. And in fact, what I liked about the Madrid nightlife was the fact that I felt like almost like it was more Spanish. Like, and here's what I mean by that. In Barcelona, you get more tourists. So the thing is,
Yes.
you don't really feel like you're getting the authentic Spanish experience, which is a con that I will have about Barcelona. You can still get that, but I feel like it's more tourist than anything. It's still great. To me, it's still better than Madrid. But the thing about Madrid is that it felt like I was around locals. It felt like I was getting the true Spanish experience
Yeah, that
being
authentic,
in
right?
Madrid. Yet every bar was different from the next. I went to a Bollywood themed bar, and I think it's like a pop-up bar, so they change it every year. I was there and it was great. I went to a speakeasy. I went to a club where you had like, I don't know if you realize, but one of the clips that I had in my intro, there was these girls that were like dancing around and stuff. They were in that bar. Man, it was dope, man. I had a good ass time, man. But try out Madrid definitely. But I don't know how nightlife is like in Seville. Like, what's your opinion on Seville?
That's a good question, man. Seville is dope, man. Seville, however you want to say it. Sevilla, it goes hard, man. You got Triana. Did you go to Triana?
No, I actually didn't. I didn't go.
Okay, okay. So Triana is on the other side of the river.
Oh,
So
okay. I
you
know what
have
you're
to,
talking about.
yeah, yeah, you have to cross over.
Uh,
So that's
what
a
is it
whole
called?
nother.
There's
Sorry.
like a huge building. I forget what it's called. It's like a landmark in Seville. And are you talking about like across that?
Yeah, yeah. So there's a bridge. So I mean, there's
Yeah.
not only one, there's a couple. But yeah, as soon as you cross over, it's a whole nother neighborhood that has its own like character. It's very authentic, and it's been there for like the longest time. I forgot it was like the artist district for like, centuries or whatever. And over there, they have a different type of nightlife. It's very chill. But it's a good place to pregame. So people will go over there and kind of pregame, and then afterward they will come and they'll do the nightlife stuff. Like I said, depending, like 1 o'clock, 1:30 is when the nightclubs will start, and they'll cross the bridge, and then they'll come over to the main part of Sevilla. Now you could stay over there, and there are some bars that go a little bit later. But if you want like a big dance club, then you have to cross over. Also, there's some clubs that are a little bit on the northern side of Sevilla, kind of outside of the colonial area, and those are a little bit more Latin focused. Very into like the salsa and the bachata kind of
Yeah.
stuff. The ones that are closer to the colonial area, those are more reggaeton and more like hip hop and like world music. I don't think there are too many like Latin ones inside the old Sevilla, in the old
Yeah.
quarter. Yep.
But Ozzy said, "Have you been to Ibiza or the other islands? I heard lots of British people go there to party." Yeah, that's what I heard too. What do you think about that, Jay?
Yeah, I have. I've been to Ibiza. Ibiza's dope. I saw Sean Paul when he was there. They have really big acts in Ibiza because the venues are massive. Like I'm trying to think of the names of them. They change the names of the clubs all the time, but they have some of the biggest, like most famous clubs in the world in Ibiza. They're like the level of Las Vegas or the level of Dubai or any other hot spot you can think of New York. And these places, they get the biggest acts, like I said, the biggest DJs you can think of. And there is a big drug scene or whatever. You don't have to do that, but a lot of tourists, especially Brits, because Brits,
They
let's
go
keep it 100. British
crazy,
people,
bro.
they mess with the drugs. You know what I mean? They be
Man,
messing
I
with their
don't know
nose
what
and
it
stuff.
is about British people in Spain, but they go extra harder in Spain. I guess it's the weather and
Yeah.
the sun because they ain't used to that where they're from. No offense. Like,
Yeah, I think because they live on an island. Once they
mm,
get off that island, it's like, it's like letting out the prisoners. Like they're like, all right, we can do whatever we want, and then we got to go back and check in with the
Jay,
warden or
Jay, let
whatever.
me ask you this. This is a great question. I need to ask you before I forget about it.
All
Because
right.
one thing I realized, and this is no knock on my British folk, because I love my British folk.
Hmm.
But
Sure,
one thing I
sure.
noticed about Spaniards is they have a hate for British people.
Yeah, yeah.
What's
And
your
I
opinion
can't
on
say
that?
that it's undeserved. I've
It's definitely
witnessed,
deserved. No
yeah,
offense
yeah,
to
I
you.
witnessed the worst behavior in Spain out of all the tourists you see in Spain, and the entire world is there. Spain is, I believe, the third most visited country on earth, the number three, right? So they literally get everyone, and the people who give them the most trouble are the Brits. So in the time that I lived in Spain, I didn't say this earlier, but I lived in Spain. I wasn't just a tourist there. So the time when I lived in Spain, I've never once saw a fist fight between Spanish people. Not once. And I'm talking about, I've been all over Spain. I've been out at night, with rowdy youngsters, all the way up to, like the older folks. I've never seen them like come to blows. I've seen them like yell, at like 4 or 5 in the morning when they're drunk, but they never really do anything. That's not the Spanish way. They're civilized, right? The
Yeah.
Brits ain't civilized. The Brits want to throw hands. And there's a time and a place for that, but the time and the place is not in the bar when you're trying to talk to a girl. And that's the problem with a lot of Brits. They come down to Spain, and I don't know if it's just like that colonial mindset of like, we have the Queen of England, we're top of the world speaks English kind of thing. We're dominant. That I don't know what's going on. But they come to other countries and they try to bring that energy, and it goes bad for them, man. The bouncers tear them apart. But before that happens, they like to pound their chest. And I'm not talking about me. They never flexed on me, but I've been out at bars and I've seen it, like everybody's having a good time chilling. It'd be one British dude and maybe a Scottish dude or a British dude and an Irish dude or whatever. And they're like, hey, bloke or whatever. I don't know what they say, man. And they just start like shoving each other. Next thing you know,
Bro.
they throwing hands. And I'm like, bro, y'all came here to fight. Like, there's girls in here. There's good music. Like, take that in the alley somewhere, man. We didn't come here for all of that. So yeah, the Brits, I see why a lot of Spanish people like turn their nose up at British people. Now, obviously, this is not all British. I got some British homies, especially the brothers. The brothers from the UK, they do not behave like this. But but yeah, I mean, British people in Spain, it's just a horrible reputation, and it is what it is.
No, that's facts, man. I think it's just cultural. I think in the UK that's what they do. But another thing is, I feel like people from the UK, from England specifically, like they, where was I going with this? I totally lost my train of thought when it came to this over here because I was all over the place.
Okay,
Yeah. So it's a cultural thing. I guess let's just move on from that. I literally forgot what
okay.
the hell I was gonna say. But let's talk about some other stuff real quick. Let's talk about the culture of Spain real quick, man, because I think there's a couple cool things about Spain that people don't even know about, or that might shock people. And I think the number one thing that's gonna shock people, and I think you know where I'm going with this, is
I think
siesta.
so. I don't know, but go ahead.
Siesta. So
Oh, yes. I thought you was gonna say some raw and uncut because I titled this like raw and uncut or something.
oh, we'll get to that. There's
Oh,
another
we'll get
one
to that. Okay, we'll
that I'm
save
gonna
that. We'll
get
save
to.
that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
saving
Yeah.
that one, but I want to start off with siesta. So what's your opinion on siesta? Like, what was your first experience with that? Because when I first went through siesta, I was like, "What is going on? Is it ghost town? Like I thought Spain was supposed to be lit. What the hell is this?" Especially
Yeah,
Seville.
yeah, man. Yeah, the
Yeah.
siesta is funny because I remember before I moved to Spain, I was talking to some American guys, and these guys, they had never been to Spain before, not even on vacation, but people think they're the experts without even going to places. And they're like, yeah, man,
Mhm.
they don't do that anymore. That was like back in the day, and it's a global world. They don't celebrate the siesta anymore. How would that work, right? This is people who've never been there. And I go over there, I'm like, let me see if it's real, right? Bro, the siesta is so real. They will shut down banks in the middle of the freaking day. Like I'm talking about like at 2 p.m. You get to the bank and you're like, this would never work in the States, but you're not in the States, you're in Spain, man. It's something you have to see to believe it. Now in the very biggest cities in Spain, like downtown Madrid, maybe you're not going to see the siesta as extreme, but pretty much everywhere outside of that, the siesta is in full effect and you got to respect it. So if you got stuff to do during that time, you need to just hang back, man. I've seen supermarkets close down at 2 p.m. In southern Spain, in some of the islands, anywhere that's not, like I said, the downtown of like the hugest cities. People are going to chill, for the day because it gets really hot in Spain, almost everywhere, right? And so because of that, the culture has adapted around okay, between like 2 to 5 or 1 to 5, depending on where you're at. Like it's just done. Like just get off the streets, go chill, have a drink, have your lunch, um, just do anything except something that requires other people to not chill, right? So yeah, if you're gonna live there, like it's something that you have to adjust yourself to. And I noticed myself, like even though I don't live in Spain anymore, it made me more chill. Like I was already a
Mhm.
kind of a chill guy, laid back or whatever, but now I look at the American lifestyle, and I'm not saying I take a siesta now, I don't, but it's just like it's foreign to me. Like I can't relate to it anymore. How different uh, the lifestyle is, and how they focus on kind of quality of life over everything else they focus in on in the West. But
Facts. No, bro, that's facts, man. Like at first, I was so weirded out by the concept of siesta. I'm like, why would you shut down the business? Because I went in there with an American mindset. You know what I
mhm.
mean? This is my first time in Europe. I had no idea about siesta like that. Went through it. I'm like, what is going on? Why the business is closed? I'm hungry. Da, 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 da. You know? But after a while, me being in Spain, because at one point I was almost there for a month. I was almost in
Okay.
Spain for a month. So I started getting used to siesta and I started applying it myself that as soon as 1 o'clock hit, I would have my lunch, I'll take a nap, wake up, and I'm back at it again. Man, I felt great, man. I was like, man, I wish I lived out here. But another thing that I found annoying though is sometimes they would make up their own hours in Spain, and sometimes you would go into a business, an establishment, and it'll be closed for the stupidest reason. Like they'll be like, oh, it's closed because it's too hot. We had to close it down. I'm like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
imagine if America was like that when they closed down the mall or whatever it is because it's too hot.
And bro, they have so many holidays too. There's like
Every week there's a
there's the
holiday.
national holidays, and they have regional holidays. Then they'll have holidays for certain saints and like certain festivals and things like that. It's just so different from the American lifestyle. You just really got to experience it, man. It's nothing I can really tell you. You got to feel it, man. You got to feel Spain.
But that's why I would love to live in a place like Spain. Like it's not just like I like to visit it. I'm actually like thinking, damn, Spain could be that country for me because I just love their way of living. Like I feel like they're
Mhm.
more about working to live or just living in the moment rather than living to work like in America, for example. Like there's two different type of lifestyles in America and Spain. And I prefer Spain. Now, Spain, it does bother me when I go out to a restaurant and they don't attend me like that. Like they may take like a whole hour to give you your food. Like you
Sure.
literally have to wave at them for them to come at you. It's not like America where they're on top of you all the time, where they're trying to get you
Yeah,
in and
no,
out,
never,
you
never.
know?
And it's funny you said that too about like being on top of you. Like in the States, it's been a while since been doing a lot of stuff in the States, but I remember it's funny, it's like a distant memory, but like in the States, you'll walk into a mall, like a Foot Locker or whatever, and they don't even give you a second to like look at stuff. Like somebody's just like, "Yo, can I help
On
you?
you.
I'm here. Like you need those? What size are you? You size 11? I got you." Like they bro, they're on it because they're trying to get that commission. It's just a whole different hustle mindset. And I respect the hustle. Don't get me wrong. Like hustle makes the world go round. But at the same time, I also respect being left alone and like just being able to take that casual pace because I walk into like a shoe store or whatever in Spain and they're chilling. You know what I'm saying? They're like, yo, if he needs me, he'll wave me over, but
Mhm.
I'm not going to be up in his space. You know what I'm saying? Because like, why? Like, what's the sense of it? And it's just so radically different from what you're used to in the States.
Bro, they're so chill. Like I met like a waiter over there. Like he was just on his phone, just chilling. I'm like, bro, you're not gonna attend this? And he's, oh, you guys can call me over. And I was like, bro, what the fuck? Like, so there's pros and cons to it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like,
Some
it's
people
like in
some people take it
America,
too far. Some people take it too far.
yeah, like in America, like you'll literally be chewing on something, eating something, and enjoying your meal, and the manager come out of nowhere. Oh, like, how's your meal? Do you like your meal?
Bro,
Everything's good. I was like, bro, I'm eating, bro. Why they always come up to me when I'm eating, bro? The
I
fuck? Wait
hate
till I'm
that, man.
done.
I hate that. It's like,
The
can I
fuck?
enjoy my food? Like,
You
yo, you
can't even
see me
say
with
nothing until you
with my
just nod
mouth
your head.
full of food. Like, what do you expect me to say? It's good. Like, what am I going to say right now? My mouth is full of food. Like, chill, man. I'm gonna get to it. If it's horrible, you're gonna hear about it. Don't even worry. I mean, you're gonna take something off my bill if it's trash. So just chill.
Yeah, man. And I also another thing about Spain, because I'm just giving everyone just like I guess like heads up about Spain and all that, but tip culture isn't really a thing out there. So
Mhm.
you don't have to really tip or any of that. I normally only tip when like the service is extraordinary. So if I thought the service was extraordinary, I was like, all right, here you go, baby. Here's a propina for you.
Yeah.
But like otherwise than that, I'm not really tipping out in Spain or Europe in general.
Yeah, you're right. And it took me a while to get into the no tip mindset because in the States we're so trained that, you're an a-hole if you don't give a tip, right? And when in Rome, do as the Romans. Like probably my first or second week, I had a homie from Alicante, which is in the southeast of Spain. And he told me, he was like, bro, you're in Spain now. I'm a local. I don't tip. It's not bad. Just feel fine. I've been to the States. I know you guys tip. Here, I don't tip. We don't expect tips. Get used to the Spanish mindset. And him telling me that like liberated me. I was like, all right, I can do it and not feel bad about it, because
Mhm.
the service is what the service is. And it's going to be decent. You know what I mean? It's not going to be extraordinary, but it's going to be decent 9 times out of 10. And a positive that I like about Spain is because of the fact that they're not hustling for a tip, is they're going to sit and let you be. So if I'm sitting, I'm having my food, they're not going to come over like, we need this table, kind of like in a rude way, like, hey, do you need your bill, sir? Like, they're not going to be interrupting me. If I'm sitting here having a convo with one of my friends or a girl or something in between bites, they're not going to be like, oh, you want your bill? Are you ready? Are you ready? Like, they're just trying to get you up and out of the restaurant. When you're in Spain, you can just lounge, man, and chill. And,
There be
hey, I'm on
people
the
that be in
Wi-Fi.
there
What's
be
that?
people on the table. There's people that be having dinners for like 5, 6, 7 hours, like a whole
They
work
don't
shift.
kick
Bro.
you
I'm like,
out.
y'all ever gonna
They
leave?
don't. You can get comfy, man. You can. I
Yeah,
don't
you can
smoke,
stay
but
there.
you can get roll up something, man. Just sit back and smoke or whatever, man. And they won't kick you out 9 times out of 10. Because they have
And that's
like the open air
another
seating.
thing. That's
Oh
another
yeah, talk
thing
about it.
is if you
Talk
need to
about it.
pick something up, man, they got some dispensaries and stuff over there too.
Yes, yes, yes. It's not an issue there at all, man. Hmm.
The best spot I picked up from was, believe it or not, in Seville. It was by the Seta somewhere. I forgot where, but one of those streets. I picked up from there, man. And I was like, damn, because the first time I went to Spain, because I don't know if you're 420 friendly or not.
Hmm. Yeah,
But when
yeah. I
I
feel
went
you.
over there, when I went to Barcelona for the first time, I picked something up and I didn't really like it. I thought this is weak, and it
Okay.
was bad. But then the second time I went to Spain, and I was in Seville, Barcelona, Madrid. I picked up, and I'm like, damn, I guess everything just got better, like over the
The
last year or
quality, yeah.
whatever it is. The
Okay,
quality got
okay.
better. But yeah, man, like that's also a thing out there too. And in
Yes.
fact, a bunch of people smoke over there.
Yeah, man, we could talk about it. Like Spain it's interesting because on one hand, there are aspects about the culture that are still considered conservative compared to a lot of Western countries. But then on the flip side of that, there's some extreme liberalism in Spain where it's like if you're not hurting anybody, do
You
you?
good?
That's another aspect of Spanish culture. And one thing that you will notice very quickly if you visit a beach in Spain is
I was
that
just about to get to that.
they will not force you to wear a top if you're a female. I almost feel like they hand out leaflets and be like, look, half of y'all got to take y'all tops off because it is wide open and it's very natural in the culture. If you've never been around that before and you're used to like beaches in the States or other countries, you might think, oh, it's going to be awkward or it's going to be weird, but it's weird for like the first 3 minutes. And then after that, you're just like, all right, they're topless and they're comfortable. I'm comfortable. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like you see so many that it's like you stop looking
Yeah, yeah,
because
you still getting used to
it's
it
just
and stuff.
normal at that point. Yeah,
But you know what's crazy, Jay? Because like
yeah.
I didn't know that was even a thing until I got to Spain. I'm like, yo, why is
Oh,
homegirls like
no one warned you.
things out? Like, why is it out like
Nobody
that?
warned you. Okay, yeah, that's
Nobody
crazy.
warned
If
me
you
about
didn't,
that.
if you weren't expecting it, that's got to be a hell of a shock. Like I knew somebody had told me, so I was like, all right. I kind of mentally was ready. But if I was just at the beach and I was just like, hold on, she ain't got no, she ain't.
Yo, for real. Hold on. Let me see here. Let me look at this comment over here. Lord, tapping in, bro. Keep going, my G. All
What's
right, I
good,
see you,
Lord?
Jay. But to keep commenting on that, um, another thing is I thought this was just for the beaches until I went to a community pool, and that's the thing, man.
Ah,
People are gonna think, oh, community pool, that's dirty, that's nasty, but it's different in Spain. It's a different vibe in Spain, community pools.
yes,
But in Madrid, is either you go because I was in Madrid. In Madrid, you either go to a rooftop bar for the pool, which can get a little pricey. I think it's $50 for that one day, which depends on if you're
Yeah,
big into that or not. But I
was
decided to go
good
to
on that.
community pool just because I went to the suburbs of Madrid, which was beautiful, by
Mhm.
the way. And I went to the community pool, and what was the first thing I saw? I saw a freaking lady with like them things is hanging out, and I'm like, wait a second, this applies to community pools too?
She
Like,
set
what
them
the
free, bro. She set them things free.
now that's what
Because
they
they
call
gotta
Spain.
breathe.
They say that Spain is the land of the free tetas. That's what they call
Yes,
Spain.
all
You
day,
know,
all day. And you know what? I thought it was like a European thing, but if you go to the beaches in France, it's not common like that. It's not like in Spain. You might see like one or two, women topless or something on the beaches in France, but not like Spain. In Spain, it's just like, do you? It's all equal, right? So, hey, I'm not mad at it. It's just something that's going to be surprising if you've never been around that before.
and I even went to bathrooms where it was co-ed. It was like unisex bathrooms,
Yeah,
whatever you want to call it.
that
And you
as
go
well.
in.
That as well.
I went one in Barcelona. And I think it's the one I'm talking about is in Casa Batlo. I don't know if you've been to Casa Batlo
Casablanca.
in
I'm not
Barcelona.
sure.
Yeah, so
Okay,
I went in there
I'm
and
not sure.
it was a co-ed bathroom, and I was confused because I saw men and women on it, on like the signs
Mhm.
on the door. So I
The
thought, all right,
logo,
I'm
yeah.
going through the door, and then it splits up. Like you have men here, women there. Nah, you go in there, homegirls over here, like putting makeup on, whatever the
In the
case is.
mirror, yeah, yeah.
And I'm like,
That's
am
some
I about to
European
get
stuff,
arrested?
man. That's some
Yeah.
European stuff. Yeah, you feel like you doing something wrong, right? Like they about
Mhm.
to put the cuffs on you, man. Like, yeah, it's a trip,
And it
man.
be like that.
It's different. It's different out there.
Yeah, there's that. There's the community pools, the beaches, and then speaking of the beaches, I don't know
Mhm,
if it's a good or a bad thing. I mean, this is kind of going away from the whole nudity and all that stuff.
mhm.
But I also feel that what do you think about the vendors on the beach, man? Because I feel like they sell everything over there. They do massages, they do everything over
Yeah, yeah. That's different, man. That is really different. So Barcelona, of course, being a big city, you've got immigrants from all over the world. So a lot of the vendors and stuff on the beaches tend to be immigrants. You don't see too many local Spanish like, hustling uh out on the boardwalk on the Ramblas in different areas. So a lot of times, I don't know who you experienced, but I remember when I was on the beach just chilling, minding my business, like Chinese women would come up and be like, "Do
there. Yeah,
you want a
give me
massage?"
massages and
Like
shit.
right there on the beach, and they're like, I forget 30 euro or whatever. Like,
Mhm.
we'll just straight up massage you like in the sand, just chilling or whatever on your beach towel. And I did it. It was good, man. It loosened me up and everything. Just came off the plane, so it was it was a benefit for me. You'll see dudes like hustling. They'll be selling like mojitos and like plastic cups and shit. I wouldn't trust it. Now, I was a youngster. I didn't know what I was doing. So the first time I went to Spain, yeah, I bought one of them. I don't know what he put in there, man. It could have been
That shit's
motor
watered
oil.
down, man. I
Yeah, I don't
bought
know
one
what it
too. I
was,
made the
but
same
like,
mistake.
yeah, I wouldn't buy from a random dude on the beach nowadays. But at that time, I was like, what I mean, you do what you do.
Just bring your
But
own
yeah, man,
drink, man. Yeah.
what's that?
I feel like the way to go in terms of the beach, because people be bringing drinks and food in there. Like the way to go is go to
Mhm.
one of those bodegas or whatever. Get yourself one of those like 5, 10. I think it's $10, 10 euro sangria bottles, and you
Yeah,
go and you get the plastic cup and you go up in there and do that instead, and you
yeah,
can get better buzz that way.
that's a good idea, man. And the quality is good too. That's another thing. Like the wine and the
And it's cheap.
sangria and all that stuff. You can get it right out of the grocery store or the corner store, and it's usually really good quality, and the price is, just a couple euros. It's not bad. It's not like in the States where if you want something that's not like some homeless moonshine, you actually got to spend a couple dollars. Like, nah, their wine is legit because they export it. Like, it's good stuff and it's not expensive.
Yeah, but those people on the beach be hustling all day, all night, bro. I
Yeah,
was there at
yeah.
night with my ex at the time, and they were still there hustling. I'm like, damn, bro, I saw you from earlier because I went there twice. I saw homeboy from earlier. I'm like, bro, you still here, bro? You don't eat, you don't shower, you walking around the whole beach all day every day. What's
Yeah,
going on here?
I think a lot of guys would be surprised, like I was saying, how diverse Barcelona is. You got a
Yeah,
lot of
very diverse.
Arabs there. You got a lot of Africans, like straight from Africa, West Africans out there hustling. A little bit of everyone, man. The whole world is there, whether they're locals or tourists. There's communities for whatever out there.
Yeah, so Ozzy says, Jay, which cities did you spend the most time in? So I don't know if he means in Spain or just internationally.
I think he means Spain. I think he's probably talking about Spain. So I mentioned about it a little bit earlier, but Sevilla was one of my favorite cities in Spain. I could say that was the city that I spent the most time in uninterrupted, was Sevilla. Sevilla is the one I put in the most work in Sevilla, but also Alicante, which is also on the coast of Spain, kind of towards Valencia. That's another city that I know really well. Valencia itself is a cool city. It's like a mini Barcelona, but there's nothing that compares to Barca if you want that real big
Yeah.
city and also beach. Like the Miami kind of vibe is only really in Barca, but Valencia is cool too, but more laid back, much more laid back, especially on the weekends. Um, where else? Where else have I mentioned Sevilla? There's also some other cool cities in the south of Spain. Like you're never really going to run out of different unique cities to see in Spain. There's in the south. There's a city called Granada,
Yeah.
Granada, and this is a university town, pretty much, but it also has a crazy amount of history there. If you know anything about the invasions of Africans, the Moors, they came and they conquered Spain. They used to run Spain for like, I don't know, like 600 years, right? And they took over the whole southern part of Spain. So if you notice people in the southern part of Spain, they tend to be darker skinned. They have a little bit of a tan, like almost like Latinos, pretty much. A lot of them could pass for, Cuban or, different mestizos, a lot of them, right? Tend to have darker hair and features, right? And kind of even Arabesque features. And that's because of all the time that, that the North Africans had came in. And so you've got these huge mosques and these huge like cathedrals that are still intact, and they're big tourist magnets in the city of Granada, right? So it's a super historical place. And it's a living history because you get to feel it, you get to walk around it, you get to touch it, and it's in the culture, it's in the streets. They got cobblestones still. And like I said, then you got the university side of it, and the parties there are crazy. And a lot of people don't know this, but it's super affordable, man. It's one of the most affordable cities in Spain, and it has a young people vibe. So if you're looking for something different and you want to get away from some of the bigger crowds, Granada is a hidden gem. You heard it from Jay Focus. Don't tell everybody, man, because I still want to pull up in there one of these days. But Granada is a really cool city. And it's also not far from another one of my favorite cities in Spain, which is called Malaga, Malaga, right? So you can kind of kill two birds with one stone. You can hit Granada and then you can hit Malaga all in one trip. And Malaga is crazy. It's not as urbanized as Barcelona is, but it's a little bit warmer, I think, in some of the like non-summer months. So the summer goes there a little bit longer. Like in Barcelona, summer kind of winds down in October, but in Malaga, you could still probably, get your beach vibe in down there. It's also a university town, very cool people, very friendly people. And you don't have kind of the double language thing like you do in Barcelona. It's just straight up pure Spanish. And it's kind of more of a Latin kind of a Spanish. They use tú. They don't use vosotros as much, which I don't know Spanish. It don't even matter. I won't get too deep into the language stuff, but it's a really cool city. I really enjoy it. And it's also affordable, a little more affordable than Barcelona.
But back to the diversity, because that's
Mhm.
another thing people kind of get shocked at with Spain is there's so much diversity in Spain. There's a bunch of Moroccans, African
Mhm.
people. There's even a ton of Dominicans, especially or
Yeah,
Latin Americans.
absolutely.
And I saw there was I think there's a barrio, a neighborhood in Madrid specifically for Dominicans. There's a
Yeah,
bunch of
for sure.
Dominicans in Madrid,
Yeah.
and I was pretty
Yeah,
shocked at that.
Yeah, I don't know the exact name of the Dominican neighborhood. I think I've been there because I had, some Dominican food when I was in Madrid. But there's one neighborhood that is more of kind of like the African neighborhood. It's called Lava Pies,
Mm, I think I heard of
Lavapies.
it.
And
Yeah,
there you can find a lot of Senegalese restaurants. You can find like Cameroon food and like, different goods from that part of the world. And just a different vibe. Like if you just want like to spend the afternoon and kind of feel like you got away from Spain for a little bit and traveled somewhere, you can just slide through that neighborhood and just see a lot of people from that region of the world. And it's cool that you have those kind of different neighborhoods all inside of that one city of Madrid.
yeah, Madrid's so underrated. I was in La Latina I think it's La
Mm.
Latina.
Yeah, La Latina. I know La
Yeah,
Latina.
I was there, bro. And I was like, yo, I fuck with this shit. Like, maybe not as much as I did with Seville. And so if I were to like rank the three cities I've been, I've only been to three. I'm gonna be honest,
Mhm.
but it would have to be unfortunately Madrid at number three.
Mhm.
And Madrid's still a great city, but number three. Uh because I love Seville so damn much, man. Like Seville is such a dope, charming city that
Yeah, man.
it's hard putting it at number two, but I would have to put it number two just because Barcelona was just that good. That's
Man,
what
I'm gonna
Barcelona.
tell you this. I'm gonna tell you this. I
Yeah,
had my mom actually come to visit me in Sevilla, and she fell in love with it. She was like, "This is like blew her expectations out of the
like a fairy
water
tale.
of just how charming it is, man. It's like almost like a storybook, you know. Not to sound
Mhm.
corny or anything, but if you're in the older areas of the city, you've got all these like passages, and like you turn down this one way and you like discover something completely different, and it's
Facts, bro.
completely safe. You can travel, you can walk around at nighttime by yourself, not have any issues. And it's just every way you turn, everywhere you look is something really cool and worthwhile. So it's hard to describe. I haven't really found anything like that in some of the other bigger Spanish cities.
So Ozzy says, Jay, can you rank all the Spanish cities you've been to?
Okay. Ah, do you want me to rank them like I don't know if he's gonna write back, but I'm not sure if you want me to rank them like for tourists or like more to live or what. I'll say that for tourism, the granddaddy of cities is going to be Barcelona, just because of the fact that it's unique in that you have the urban area, but then you also have the beach. Especially if you go and it's not the winter time, you can definitely take advantage of having the beach so close to you. So that kind of gives Barcelona a little bit of extra points over every other city as far as tourism goes. Now, after that, I would have to say Sevilla, man. Come on, Sevilla is the third biggest city in the country, so there's a big population there. A lot of people don't know how big it is outside of just the old city parts. Like I was telling him about Triana, like he didn't even uh, have time to explore Triana, which is right on the other side of the river. Um, man, after that, I kind of want to go with Granada, you know, as kind of a hidden gem, at least for Americans. Granada is really cool, man. It's got a younger vibe. You know, if you smoke, you're definitely gonna be able to cop some good smoke down there. You got like your hippie side of it. You got, like I said, you got the history side of it. There's a lot going on in Granada, and the prices are amazing for what you get. Um, and then after that, I guess it's tough, man, because you got the islands. Like I really enjoy the islands. Like you got, like I said, Mallorca, you got Ibiza, and those are in the Mediterranean. So those will be a little bit warmer in the wintertime compared to the mainland part of Spain. Um, and they're really unique. Like people are even more laid back because it's an island. You know how island people are, and the flavors there are really different. Yep. And we didn't even talk about women really.
I
So
was just about to get to that, my
yeah,
friend.
but
You
I'm
beat
just
me
trying
to
to,
it.
help him with his question. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
more or less how I would rank the Spanish cities.
Bach says,
Valencia.
what about Valencia?
Valencia is cool. I like Valencia a lot. Valencia has good people. I like that whole Valenciano region because Valencia is in between Andalusia, which is the bottom southern part of Spain. Like you can't get any more south. And then you have on the mainland, and then you have Catalan area, and Valencia is in the middle. So the identity is in the middle as well. So a lot of people don't know this, but in Valencia, they also speak the same language they do in Catalonia. They speak Catalan, right?
Oh, wow.
It's the same exact language, but they call it Valenciano because they're in Valencia. You know, don't tell them that. They'll get kind of defensive, but it's the same damn language. Maybe they have like 10 different words, but it's the same grammar, same everything. It's the same language, but they're not as kind of militant about using their language. So if in Barcelona, like even if you're with a taxi driver or Uber driver, you chop it up with him a little bit, and he'll be like, "Yeah, you know, we want to be independent, all this stuff, and we're
Yeah.
not Spanish and all that." Like in Valencia, they're just like laid back. They're like, "Yeah, we're Catalan-ish, and we're also Andalusia-ish. Like, yeah, we'll speak our stuff like at home, but like we won't speak it in the streets, and we like really don't care if you speak Spanish with us or if you speak, the Catalan language with us." So to me, they're just like super chill about everything, and they also speak really good English. I found like the people in Valencia. I think it's because a lot of British people have settled in that region. You know,
Mm.
it's a big region. So you've got like the major cities in the region are Valencia and Alicante, and a lot of Brits have settled in that region. So they tend to be a little more, multilingual than the average Spaniard, because we didn't really talk about English that, yet about, what it's like if you don't know Spanish. I don't know if you want to dive into that right now.
Let's actually dive into that now. We'll leave dating more for like the main event
Okay.
for later.
We'll,
We'll
we'll
push
keep
that a
that for
little
the end.
toward later. But
Mhm.
here's my experience with English in Spain. Well, lucky for me, I speak Spanish, so that's lucky for me. I
Mhm.
know how to speak it. But
Yeah,
even
yeah.
if you didn't know Spanish, like for the most part, you'll be good in Spain. That's my. I,
Uh-huh.
I feel like, especially Barcelona, like everyone speaks English there. Like, in fact, there's some people, like immigrant workers, that work in Barcelona that don't even speak Spanish. They just speak English or whatever language, their native tongue.
Sure,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so like you don't even need Spanish really like that. Madrid's a bit more Spanish, so you may need Spanish more in Madrid, but you'll still be good. Seville, well, I couldn't really tell you about Seville because Seville, I just spoke to them Spanish the entire time. I just
Yeah.
dealt with Spanish speaking people because I look Spanish, so they just talk to me
Sure.
in Spanish. So and I try to because my Spanish, even though I'm fluent in it, if you don't use it, you lose it. You know what I mean? So like I was just talking in pure Spanish, but Seville, I think you should be fine as well, especially in the tourist areas. But I think Barcelona is the way to go in terms of English speakers.
Yeah, that's very on point because Barcelona, the amount of tourists they get in Barcelona is insane. If you go in the summertime, you'll hear people speaking, like walking past you in the street speaking with like a Texas accent or Chicago accent. You'll be like, damn, like Americans out here like that, or like, Brits out here like that. Like you'll hear a lot of English
Everybody's out there.
on the street in Barcelona because you got people coming from Germany, they don't speak Spanish. You got people coming from Prague, they don't speak Spanish. You got people coming from Russia, they don't speak Spanish. So people who work in the central areas of Barcelona, they're so used to hearing English. Nobody's going to get pissed. Sometimes you might even get like certain Catalan locals who maybe if you look a little Latino, they'll be like, kind of preferring you to speak English versus Castellano because they're proud to be Catalan. And they're like, you live here. Why don't you speak, Catalan or whatever? They may assume that. Like, if you have more of a Latino appearance, they might think that you immigrated there and you moved there and you're just like too lazy to learn Catalan. So if you only speak English in Barcelona, you are not going to have any issues.
No problems.
Um, I'm trying to think. In Madrid, like he said, yeah, it's kind of depends, right? Depends a little bit more because they're not so super dependent on tourism there. It'll depend on what area of the city you are in. But if you're dealing with like restaurants and things like that, yeah, they're used to people speaking English. Sevilla, Sevilla, I think, is going to be hit or miss there. You can absolutely go there as an English speaker. My mom went to Sevilla. She speaks zero Spanish whatsoever. And people were super nice to her because she wasn't with me like, 24/7. There were times where she was just out on her own exploring and doing things. And it was very safe for her. She had no issues. And, she was fine with her English. People saw she was a tourist, obviously, and were happy to accommodate her. So I wouldn't let language scare you from visiting Spain whatsoever.
Yeah.
No.
It's not like Paris or France, for example, where it's
Mm.
kind of like they get irked, like if you don't like speak
Yeah.
French, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I've never heard a story of like I went to Spain and I tried to speak bad Spanish or I only spoke English and I said, sorry, I only speak English. And they like turned up their nose. Like you hear those stories about Paris of like, you're in Paris, why don't you speak the French? Like, really asshole attitudes about it. Like,
Mhm.
dude, I'm a tourist. I'm here 3 days. You think I'm
Yeah,
gonna learn your
smack 'em
language
with a
in three
baguette
days?
or something, man. Shut up.
Yeah, yeah. You're never going to get that in Spain. At least I've never heard of that. I don't think that exists because I knew so many I guess you call them expats or some people were doing study abroad from the States or Canada or other places who were living in Sevilla with me like me and they showed up, they knew no Spanish whatsoever and they got along fine. So, yeah, don't even stress about the language thing. But
But
obviously if you
yeah.
can, it's going to help you if you know the basics because people appreciate it when you can show them a little something.
Yeah, man, just go on Duolingo, pick up a little something, something. Just know how to say good afternoon, good night, just the basic stuff. But you don't really
Yeah.
need Spanish like that, to be honest. You're good. And
Mhm.
Spanish people are also very nice for the most part. I have met a couple snobs, but for the most part, Spanish people are very, very nice, very hospitable, very welcoming. They want to make sure you're having a good time in their country. But let's talk about a little bit of the cons of Spain. Because Spain is a country that has the stereotype that Spaniards are racist. What do you think about racism in Spain, especially as a black man?
Wow. That is a complex topic. I don't think I've done a video on my channel strictly on race as it pertains to Spain. I did one video about like the police in America versus the police in Spain.
Hmm.
And I think there are levels of racism, right? I think to me the highest level of racism is when it involves the government and the state, right? Because the government and the state are the ones who can put you in jail. Those are the ones who can shoot you and kill you legally, right? So to me, that's the highest level of racism, like state sanctioned racism. And that's more of a US thing, right? In Spain, as far as issues with the police, I've never had an issue with the police. I know brothers much darker than me, Americans who really love Spain. Never had an issue with the cops stopping them or anything weird like that. I'm not going to sit here and say that Spain is a racial utopia. I mean, very few countries would even be considered in that argument or in that conversation. Um, I'd say as a black man, you are going to more likely than not just have to deal with stereotypes. That's going to be more of the issue that you're going to face. Nobody is going to be violent with you. Nobody's going to like try and punk you or anything like that. You know, that doesn't really happen. It's going to be more stereotypes. Somebody You're going to get stares. I'll say at some point in Spain, especially if you look a little bit different. But it's never anything threatening. It's just kind of, it could be slightly uncomfortable with older people because the older people, especially, they don't have any chill. Like if they see
Hmm.
something that they've never seen before, whether that's like a Chinese dude or whether that's, a really dark skinned black dude, they're gonna stare like, okay, this is something exotic. I haven't seen this all year, kind of a thing. But in the big cities, this isn't really a thing anymore because if you're in Madrid, if you're in
It's like a melting pot.
Barcelona, there's Africans, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not as dark as an African. Most of them, you know what I'm saying? A lot of Senegalese specifically come to Spain. So these guys are kind of a fixture in these cities. People see them every single day selling goods and stuff like that. So it's not like anybody's going to be like, oh my God, a black guy, black American, a black guy. Like they've never seen a black guy in their life. Now, if you went to some tiny village, then yeah, you could possibly have that kind of a shock when someone sees you. But nowadays, it's not really a thing. Like I said, stereotypes more than anything is if they see you and you're, my complexion or maybe a little bit darker, they may assume that you're from a poorer country. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. It's gonna depend on context, right? So if they see you in a nice restaurant, no, they're gonna know that you're a rich tourist, right? They're gonna think, okay, maybe he's from the UK, maybe he's French. Sometimes I've had people assume that I was French. Um, I'm trying to think. Maybe on a rare occasion, you could deal with like nightclub type discrimination, and that's anywhere in the world. You could get that in Dubai, you could get that in freaking New York, right? Where they're just like, okay, this is a club. We're trying to limit the amount of black people who go to this club. You're probably not going to deal with that, but I would say out of all the time that I spent in Spain, that's probably the most blatant racism that I've dealt with, which was like kind of like they don't want to let you in the club, but they don't want to say why, kind of a thing. But
Hmm.
that's not a Spain thing. That happens in Germany. Like I had a partner, he's from New York, born and bred. And he lived in Germany for like 8 years. And he said, bro, it happens all the time in Germany. Not every club, of course, but it's like there'll be like one or two clubs where it's like a hard to get in club for black people, right? So that kind of a thing could exist in Spain. Other than that, though, if you're a tourist, you're not going to have to deal with like anything official. Now, if you're living in Spain, you are going to have to deal with immigration at some point. Everyone, whether you're black, white, yellow, you could be Russian. You're going to have to deal with, going through the steps where you apply for a visa, et cetera, et cetera. Um, you could get a little bit of extra scrutiny if you're black, but they're still going to let you in. Like if all your documents are correct, you're Gucci. You know what I'm saying? But they may like kind of look twice at your stuff. Like, okay, I'm gonna look at it again because he's still black. You know what I mean? But nothing crazy. Nobody's gonna call you the N word. Nobody's gonna do anything crazy. Is what I'm trying to say. Like if you're born and raised in the States, you've experienced way worse racism than anything you're going to get in Spain. And the same if you're from Canada or most Western countries, nothing in Spain is going to like surprise you. You're like, damn, that was racist as hell. Like I've never had anything happen to me that I can think of that was like to that level. Like I said, more just stereotypes. Maybe you'll get stupid questions sometimes, like I don't know, just stupid questions that you could get in any European country, right?
So I love that explanation, man. So let me go over my experience, or I would say more of
Mhm.
third person experiences. But let me start off by saying this. Now, every country on this planet, in my opinion, has some racism in it. There's no country that's not racist to an extent. Um, but with Spain, I think it's a little strange because as a Latino, you think they'd be more welcoming towards Latinos, and they are to an extent, but especially with Dominicans, like the dark skinned Latinos, they're very like towards us. You know what I mean? Like I sensed a little bit of that when I was over there. And the thing is, I picked up on things because I know Spanish, I speak it. So I would listen to them say things about me or other people, or they would give me weird looks or sometimes I think the most racist thing I experienced in Spain was I was sitting at a table with family because my first time I went to Spain, I was with family. Second time I went with my ex. But first time I was in Spain, I was sitting on in a table with family. We're just there having ice cream. And the guy that served me ice cream came up to me and told me, "Hey, can you get up because I have this couple that wants to sit in these seats over
Oh,
here, and
wow.
they're white Spaniards." And I
Wow.
looked at him like, "Hell no, I ain't getting up. You're gonna have to fight me or something to get me out of this chair." Like, what the fuck? What the fuck you mean? Like,
That's
tell them to
crazy.
fucking go somewhere else. What the fuck? So that was probably the most racist thing I experienced.
Damn.
Some stares. But you're right. Otherwise than that, everything's kind of subtle. Or I've
Yeah.
experienced much worse here in America.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah. I gotta
but
I gotta think now. Yeah, because well, I don't want to cut you off. I don't want to cut
no,
your
no,
flow
you
off.
good. But
Okay, I was
another
just gonna. Oh no,
yeah,
no, go ahead. Go
yeah, my bad, bro. Because the thing is, I think about things, and I'm trying to say before I forget. But basically, another thing about Spanish culture and Latino culture that I think a lot of people misinterpret or confuse is in Latino and Spanish culture in Spain. They say moreno a lot, negrito. They say that a lot. I don't know if they called you that over there, but even me, they call me that. They'll be like, "Hey, negrito, how you doing, negrito?" And like to us, if you were to translate that, you know what that means.
Yeah, yeah,
So like to you, to us, like to you, you may take that offensively. You might take it as, oh, you're being racist, but in reality, that's just the way they speak. They
sure.
speak like that. They'll be like, hey, negro or negrito, whatever, come over here, da, 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 whatever. But that's how they speak to each other. So a lot of people are also going to take that as that's racism, but it's actually not as weird as that is. It's just their
Mhm.
culture. That's just the way they talk over there. But Ozzy had a question. He said, Jamie, which city did that happen? That was in Madrid, actually. It was in
Okay,
Madrid, believe
okay.
it or not. But what were you
And you
saying?
know what? I was gonna say as a caveat, like I've probably spent the least time in Madrid. If you noticed on the stream, I didn't really speak too much about Madrid. I've been there twice, but it was just kind of in passing, like just 2 or 3 days or something. So I'm not an expert on Madrid. I know some of the neighborhoods and stuff like that, but I actually have noticed as a theme, based on different things I read online, different YouTube videos, different people I spoke with, is that if there is any race, if there's a racist, what's the right word? If there's a racist like headquarters in Spain, it's Madrid, like by far. Like anytime there's a story that I hear of like something crazy happened to me, racist or something, I always ask the question like, where was it? And it always 9 times out of 10, it's in Madrid. And that's not the reason why I avoided Madrid. I just really don't like colder weather because I was living there like for full time. and I was trying to avoid it in the winter months. So I was like, I want to be in the more southern parts of Spain, right?
Mm,
Um, but I think Madrid is unique. I don't want to get too deep and get off on a tangent, but like Madrid is where the king is. So if you guys don't know, Spain is still a kingdom. There's very few kingdoms left in Europe like that are big countries. Like France, they cut off the head of their ruler like 300 years ago. They're done with kings. Portugal doesn't have a king. So Spain is still unique. Like the UK and Spain are probably the last like real monarchies, like strong ones that are in Europe. There's some other little ones in like the Netherlands or whatever, but no one cares about them. But that being said, like there's a certain cockiness I feel like that comes with like we come from a royalty, like that old school colonial ass like hierarchy of like stacking people and races and stuff. So I think some of that lingers in Madrid more than anywhere else. They say there's like more fascism in Madrid than other parts of Spain too. Like if you notice, so even in between Spaniards, right? As I mentioned earlier, they speak different languages in different regions. A lot of Spaniards in different parts of the country don't like Spaniards from Madrid. There's that kind of a thing going on. I don't know if it's like in the States where like if you're from Texas, you hate New Yorkers. But imagine that for like 500 years, not just, however long America's been around.
mm,
Like their shit goes deeper. It goes to like grandparents and stuff like that and like ancestors like way back or whatever when they had separate kingdoms. But anyway, Madrid people, I think, are just going to naturally be cockier and more assholish just because it's a bigger city and because they feel like connected to royalty and, whiteness and the whole like legacy of Spanishness. But the further you get outside of Madrid, I think you're going to get more of kind of like more human interactions and people that aren't as cocky. Because let's face it, Spain, as far as Europe goes, is one of the poorer countries, but all of the wealth in Spain is primarily concentrated in Madrid. And then after that would be Barcelona. The rest of the country, where I spent most of my time, is actually pretty poor, especially by US standards. It would be like, Alabama or something like that. So they're
mm.
not as cocky typically, and they're typically not as prejudiced. Like I've got amazing stories of things people in Spain did for me that they didn't have to do. And if they were racist, they would absolutely not do. I can tell you one time, this was like, I think the second day, or maybe even the first day after I moved to Spain. And so I've got my luggage. I'm in a small city in Spain, not Sevilla, but even smaller city. And I think I had my credit card with me, but for whatever reason, like my bank was not letting me withdraw money. I think they didn't know I was traveling, right?
Mhm.
So I'm waiting at this bus stop. I got off a train. So I had taken a train from Alicante. I got off at the bus stop, and this bus pulled out, right? This bus only comes around like once every hour. I had no freaking cash on me. So this bus pulls out, and they're like, "So you're gonna get on the bus or not?" And I'm like, "Oh, like I have no euros. I have no coins." There was a woman, and she's like, "Don't worry, I got you." This woman didn't know me from anything. So this tells you that all Spanish people are not like that. Like there's really good people in Spain who they just see you as a person.
Yeah, and especially Seville. I thought the nicest people I met, the kindest people were from Seville, bro. Like I'm like, bro, like I went to this one coffee shop during siesta because my ex and I were trying to find a place to eat because we were starving. We got there literally at siesta. We were walking
Mhm.
around, it was a ghost town. We were sweating because it was 100 plus degrees out. We went to this coffee shop that was actually open. It was actually open. I was
Okay.
surprised. I went in there and the guy was so nice. He was like trying to, talk to us, and he told us, hey, like, how long you guys here for? We told him, oh, for a couple days. He made me a whole list of where to go in Seville. Like, there's a spot in Seville. You probably know about the spot. Forgot the name of it, but there's a flamenco spot where you can see flamenco for free.
Yeah,
Um,
I think I know the one you're talking. Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to think of the name of it. I used to live near there.
a lot of locals
Trying to
go
think of
there.
the name. Yeah,
I forgot the name of it, but he
yeah,
told me
yeah.
to go there, and
I
I
think.
went there. I'm like, oh, this is pretty dope. Okay, cool. This is kind of cool. So he told us about all the cool spots to go to, and I couldn't imagine a local from another European city. Not saying that they're mean or anything, but it just and Seville is a different type of kindness. Like the even going into an ice cream shop, the girls are so sweet, and I'm not gonna lie, they're being a little flirty. I think in terms of, and we're gonna get to the dating
Yeah,
aspect.
yeah.
But in terms of the flirtation, like I mean, I experienced this in all three cities. but something about Seville and Barcelona that were just, the girls are more
It's
flirty over there
special,
than
right?
the others.
It's just special for
Yeah,
you, huh?
yeah. Seville, they're really nice in Seville, man.
Yeah. Seville, yeah. Seville is a special place, man. I really like Seville. You'll notice that they're a little bit classier. Like the way they dress too is even better than like most parts of Spain. Like they have a lot of pride and they're just more fun loving, more humorous. Like I remember I would go to the grocery store and there was this one cashier and he was just always had jokes, bro. He was just funny. And they have a reputation for that. I think a lot of the comedians in Spain come from Sevilla. They just have a like, just love of life kind of energy that you find in Latinos. You don't find it as much in like Madrid and like the northern parts of Spain, at least based on the people that I've met. Um, so overall, I think you're going to find the warmest people in Andalusia, which is the region that has the city of Sevilla. It has the city of Malaga. It has that city called Granada that I mentioned earlier. Um, yeah, though I think those are the main ones in that area that it's just a whole different energy, man. It feels closer to the Latin warmth. And the other parts of Spain, yeah, things are a little bit different, a little more of like the stereotypical European. Not that they're
Mhm.
cold, but they're just not as warm as you would expect. If you're coming from Colombia or something like that, they're not going to be that warm, except in the southern parts of Spain.
It's crazy because not only is it super warm in Seville, but the people are also warm too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It can be scorching. If you go to Seville in summertime, I'm gonna pray for you because
yeah. I was
that
there, bro. I
normal
was I was about to fucking pass out, man, because it was so damn hot.
yeah that normal siesta that might only go like 3 hours in Madrid, it might go like 5 6 hours in
Bro, they
Sevilla because
hibernate over there. Like the guy was telling me,
yeah.
bro, we hibernate for most of the day. Like we're out a little
Mhm.
bit in the morning when it's cool, but then when it starts getting hot towards the afternoon, their siesta be like a whole work shift, bro. They be indoors like fucking cave people, bro. And then when it
Yeah.
starts like the sun starts going down, that's when they start coming out and it picks up again. That's how Seville is in the summer. But let's talk about dating, man. Let's get to dating. Let's
Okay.
talk about dating.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. So how are Spanish women when it comes to Americans and Latinos? Because my experience in Spain was that they love Latinos and they love black guys. They love American
Mhm.
guys out there. But what's your experience? Because you would probably know more because you lived out there.
Okay, so Spain is cool for a lot of reasons, like right, like I can break it down. Like Spain is cool because you've got such a variety there of not only food and other type of things to do, but of women. So when you go to Spain, don't think that you're only going to be dealing with Spanish women. You can, obviously, they're the majority. But if you're in any big city in Spain, you've got the whole world is there, man. Um, I had a close friend of mine, Latino, born in the States, born and raised, speaks Spanish fluently, just like me. My Spanish is pretty fluent. And we both were living in Sevilla. And this guy, he he lived in Spain like around the same amount of time as me. And the amount and the variety of women that he dealt with was just it boggled my mind. Like it was like one week he'd be like, I'm with this German girl. Next week he'd be like, I'm with this Czech girl. Next week he'd be like, I'm with this Argentinian girl. Next week he'd be like, I'm with this Moroccan. Like we ran the gambit out there. And me too. Like my experience was like definitely not limited to Spanish women. I'm gonna get to Spanish women, but I just want to say to you guys that like if Spanish women are not your cup of tea, you're like, yeah, they're all right, but it's not like really my thing. Spain's got it all. Obviously, there's Latinos. Come on, it's Spain, all right? That's like the mother, that's the mother country. So you've got loads of Dominicans in any Spanish city you go to. I don't care how small it is. There's a Dominican community there.
Mhm.
You got Colombians in any Spanish city. I don't care which one it is. You got Venezuelans, especially now. There was a big exodus of Venezuelans, like in the last 10 years. So they're all over Spain now. Um,
Argentinians too. A lot of Argentinians.
yeah, Argentinians, man. I cross paths. And going beyond those, I mean, then you got the whole Europe because a lot of people don't know this, but Spain has a lot of universities, and most universities in Spain will have something called Erasmus. So, do you know what Erasmus is?
I actually don't know what that is.
Yeah, Americans don't know. I didn't know until I got to Spain, right? So, Erasmus is, think of it like a foreign exchange program,
Mhm.
except like they're not necessarily exchanging you for anything. So, let's say I'm Swedish or German, right? And I'm studying, I don't freaking know. Let's just throw something out. Accounting. I'm studying accounting, right? I can do a semester in Spain in my accounting field, and the EU will give me a grant so that I can live in Spain during that time. And I'm like 18, 19, 20, or something like that. So what student wouldn't want to, like, okay, I can live in Spain and, like, have a more diverse experience for my degree and maybe pick up some Spanish, right? So this doesn't just exist for Spain and Germany. This exists for all countries in the European Union. So you've got young students from all over Spain, Italy, Portugal, France, who come to Spain. They'll do one semester, 2 semesters, and they'll party it up. They'll make incredible memories. And they're as open to American guys as anybody, right? So you're definitely not limited to Spanish women when you're in Spain, man. I mean, I've dealt with Japanese women. I've dealt with Asian, all kind of Malaysian, like anything you can name is in Spain. Same thing like if you were in New York. Same thing like you were in Los Angeles. The whole world is there, man. Um, do you want me to get into Spanish women now, or did you want to say something?
No, and I actually want to hear what your
Okay.
experiences are with Spanish women.
Okay. So here we go with Spanish women, right? So region makes a big difference as it pertains to Spanish women. Like I told you guys, the language and everything definitely influences the culture. So I think shit, I think there's like 15 regions in Spain, and I've been to maybe 8 of them or something like that. But the biggest ones that you want to know about would be like the Madrid region, the Catalonia region, the Valencia one, and what's the other one? The Andalusia in the south, right? So Andalusia, if you ask the average Spanish guy, they're gonna say the best, most beautiful Spanish women are in Andalusia. This
I
is
gotta agree with
unanimous,
that.
man. Yeah, I don't.
And then the
I
nicest
mean,
too.
yeah, man, because they actually are quote unquote mixed because they mix with the North Africans and stuff, right? So they tend to be, kind of like a tan skin, but some of them will have light eyes or, even going beyond that, man, the bodies that they have in the southern part of Spain, incredible, incredible. Sometimes you'll be like, man, are you Latina? Did your mama give you that? Is that natural? Did you have some surgery? Some of them they'll put sisters to shame, man. I'm
Mhm.
dead, bro. I got receipts. Like I'm telling you, man. Some
100%
of the
believe you.
yeah, you'll be doing double takes. Like what? Yeah, crazy. And they're very fun going, man. Very energetic and stuff. Um, Good personalities, like 9 times out of 10. Even if they reject you, they'll do it in a classy kind of a way. There's not like um so much like they get brownie points for being an asshole to you or something if they're not feeling you. So for me, I would say my favorite Spanish women come from the South. And like I said, I kind of already summed up with their characters. Like they're usually more fun going, and like just more chill in the South. Now, up the coast, you've got a region called Murcia, which is kind of like the South too. Very similar, but just maybe a little bit more small townish kind of feel. I got a lot of love out there as well. Then you've got Valencia is the next one if you're moving up the coast. Valencia is is similar, but a little bit, like I said, they're in between the Catalan identity and more of the southern, super laid back, not as worldly identity. So don't think you're just going to go to Valencia and you're just going to be some super exotic thing. Like they've never seen a black dude before in Valencia. Like, nah, that doesn't really exist. And the same in Barcelona. Like, yeah, they've seen black dudes before. But you've got as good a shot as pretty much any tourist. You know what I'm saying? Because there's going to be a lane where they like, American culture, they like hip hop, you're going to be that representation for them. And You know, if you're Latino, there's plenty of girls who love reggaeton, who love bachata. Oh my God, man. If you can dance bachata,
Yeah, yeah.
there's definitely a lane for you in any city in Spain, man.
Facts.
There's a lane for sure, man. The cats who got the bachata game down, they be killing it, man. I be seeing them. Hit up the Dominican barbers all over Spain. Get your nice lineup, man. Come through, show off some bachata moves. You're gonna eat out there. If you got more of the hip hop type swag or whatever, man, get on the apps, get on IG or whatever, and just put in a little bit of work, and you're gonna see results from it. Now, as far as like doing daytime approaches without Spanish, in Barcelona, you can get away with it because there's so many tourists there. Like I
Mhm.
said, you're not limited to just Spanish women. So you might see a bad chick and she might have like light hair and lighter features, and you don't know if she's Spanish. She might be from northern Spain and moved down to Barcelona, or she could be German. You know what I'm saying? You can't just always tell. So just shoot your shot, and you're gonna figure it out sooner or later where she's from and where she stands. Um, Anything that I didn't cover? Any other
I think you
question?
covered a lot, but to add on to what you're saying, you're right. I mean, that's the beauty of Spain is that there's something there for everybody. So if you want your thick girls, they got that. If you want your skinny girls, they got that. If you
Mhm.
want your white girls, like as you know, Spanish women stereotypically, when people think about a Spanish woman, they think about like a white girl.
Mhm.
You got
Yeah,
those
yeah.
two
Lighter, lighter. Yeah.
and skin. You want your Venezuelan, your Colombian, your Dominican women, whatever. They got everything there for you, and they're into all different type of guys. It don't matter. Like there's something there for you, and that's the thing that shocks me, man. I don't know if it shocks you, Jay, but it shocks me because everyone always, no offense to the countries, like Colombia is great. I love Brazil. Anyone that knows me loves I love Brazil. These countries are great, but they're not the only countries to visit. They're
Yeah,
not the only countries that
exactly.
are good for dating. Spain is just as good. There's everything that
Sure.
you got in Colombia and all that, except of course it's a longer flight and all that. I do get that. It is a long flight,
Yeah.
but it's totally worth it once you land there and you see the options and how amazing and charming and the social these women are. Because Spanish women, like we're talking about Spanish women, actual Spanish women, they love to chat. They're very social. They're the ones that I met were very flirtatious, especially if you speak Spanish. If you speak Spanish, they're going all out on you, and they
Mhm.
love what I'm sure they like different races, but what I've learned about Spanish women is they love Latinos because we speak the language, but it's a different accent and it's a different vibe. Because Spaniard men
Yes.
are kind of like they're cool, but they're stiff. But with
Yep.
Latinos, we have a swag to us, and they love
Yep.
that. They go weak for that. So when they were seeing me out there, it was like they're trying to flirt with me and stuff like that. And at the time I was with my ex, I couldn't really do much. I was trying to be respectful, but they would literally choose me. They would try to flirt with me, talk to me, and I'm like, damn. Like, imagine if I was single in a place like this. And that's what I'm saying, man. The brothers need to start going out to Spain, man. Stop going to South America all the time, man. Europe is just as good, maybe even better in some ways because it is safe.
Yeah. One thing I want to say that I left out is to compare Spanish women to American women. I did a video about this a couple of years back, and it's as true back then as it is today. Is that one really cool thing about Spanish women is that they are not going to waste your time. So in the States, you might have a girl who, whether you meet her on the app or you meet her on the street or whatever, she may take your number or whatever and not plan to get intimate with you. I don't know how uncut I'm gonna make this, but you
Go
know what I'm
ahead, bro.
trying to
It's real
say.
talk, bro. It's real talk.
Yeah,
Make it as
man. You know what I'm
uncut.
saying? There might be a chick in the States who she's like, all right, he looks like he can take me out to dinner. And they'll gas you and play games with you like that. Like, okay, you'll go out with the girl, you'll take her out to dinner, whatever, and you'll think like, okay, I'm gonna smash, right? But she's not even having that type of energy. She's like, okay, this guy's gonna take me out Tuesday. This guy's gonna take me out Wednesday. I'm gonna smash my ex on Friday. Like, there's girls who, I'm not saying all American women are like that, but it's not as rare as you might think. Where in Spain, I've never seen that kind of energy. Like, if they're gonna take time out of their schedule to go out on a date with you, it's yours to mess up. You know what I'm saying? They're already like 90% sold. As long as you don't mess that up, the fact that they didn't flake and show up, you're gold, man. You can sit back and chill and just be smooth, man. And it's going to go the way it's supposed to go. Like, they're not out there to be like, I'm just going to waste this time. I'm just going to, tease this guy. Like, nah. And this is across the board. This isn't just me. Like I had many homies when I lived in Spain who were, Mexican American, white American, white Canadian dudes, black Canadian dudes. And they said the same thing across the board. Like the coolest thing about Spanish women is that they're going to be transparent and they're going to be straightforward. Like if they're not feeling you, the date is never even going to happen. So they did you a favor, bro. Like
Mhm.
seriously, they saved you time and they saved you money. They got out the way so you can meet the one who is down with you. You know what I'm
Facts.
saying? I remember I met this one girl in the supermarket or whatever, and she was like the cashier or whatever, checking me out or whatever. And I was like, okay, is she flirting, because she's just flirtatious or because she likes me?
You see what I'm
And
saying,
she
man? These Spanish
she
women get
just
flirty.
yeah, man, but nah, she was with it. Like I was like, well, let me see how far I could go. Let me go for the digits. And she gave me the digits. And then after that, like we set up the date like smoothness. And it was like no game plan. She wasn't just like, okay, I'm just trying to get some attention. Like, nah, it was really about something. And I've noticed that consistently is that you may not put up Colombia type numbers. Like I don't know
Mhm.
how dudes, what they do with their money down in Colombia. That's their business.
Yeah,
And
fact.
I'm not knocking it, but I'm just saying you may not show up and you got five girls lined up for you when you get off the plane. It may not go down like that. But the ones who do mess with you, they not messing with you for the money. They not
Mhm.
messing with you for the passport. They're with you for you. You know what I'm saying? And they're not bad looking either, man. And I'm telling you, if you can dress, you got a little bit of game. Like you don't got to be the smoothest guy ever. If you can dress a little bit, you're not 55 years old, and that's no disrespect to the older guys. I'm just saying like in Colombia, I know you can be 55 and still mess with the young things. Like if you're coming to Spain, and you're 55, you think you're gonna mess with the young things?
It's
Save your
different.
money, man. I'm not trying to sell
Mhm.
y'all a dream. Save your
Facts.
money.
100%.
You can mess with something maybe in their 40s, but anyway, my point is this: like as long as you're like kind of realistic, what I'm saying, you can dress, you come out to Spain, you can do very well. Like I said, if the Spanish women ain't feeling you, the Moroccans might be
100%.
feeling you. The Moroccans ain't feeling you, the Latinas might be feeling you. The Latinas ain't feeling you. Hey, this chick is British. She all about it. You know what I'm saying? This German chick is right over here. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like there's really no way you can lose as long as you have the mindset that you're out here to win. That's all I can really say, man.
Facts, but I like what you said because not saying that South American women can't like you for you. You know what I mean? Because they
Mhm.
can. I've met some girls like that down there. But what I noticed in Spain is that because Spain, there's a lot. I met a lot of girls that are well off. Actually, they're well off. They just want a man to love, not necessarily to provide for them, but to love them. So when you do meet a woman like and she's into you, it's really because she's into you for you, not because of the money. So that's one thing I do like about Spain. Sure, it may not be as crazy as, let's just say, a Colombia, Brazil, where you got them all lined up, right? It's
Mhm.
not as crazy as that. However, you still can get a roster out in Spain, depending. So like there's a lot of good options out there, a different type of variety of women. It's good. But let me ask you this, man. And I'll get to the comments because we have a lot of comments over here.
Oh yeah. Oh, for
Um,
real. Okay.
but let me get to this real quick. I guess one last question before I get to the comments. Is there a wow factor out in Spain when it comes to American men? Like, so for example, when American men usually go to like Colombia or Brazil,
Mhm.
a place like that, like the girls like, oh my god, he's American. Oh, like they want to date you. Is a wow? Is there like a wow factor in like out in Spain when it comes to the women out there with Americans?
So that really depends, man. As far as the region, and let's be honest, that it's going to depend how you look as well, because we have a big range as far as what we look like. Some of us are a little bit you got some brothers, I'll put it like this: you got some brothers who are like super swole, you know what I'm saying, and that's going to be attractive to women anywhere, right? So if you're American but you've got like one extra thing, then yes, that is going to put you into another category where they're just like, damn, okay, I'm really around like a true American type of thing. Because when they think of Americans, they have their own stereotypes too, you know. And some of it's good, some of it's bad. Like, if you're black, you got the hip hop thing where they think you can rap, they think you can dance, they think you can, whatever. Like, if you're black, they think you're going to be good at basketball, or like you're going to be a little bit swoller than the dudes that they're used to, right? So if if some of those stereotypes can work to your advantage, right? Um, so like I said, it is going to vary a little bit between people and also where you're at, because if you're in a big international city like Barcelona, odds are the girls have met Americans before. You know, if
Mhm.
she's in the club scene, she's in the bar scene, and especially in the tourist central areas, yeah, she's met an American before. So it's not like, oh my God, this is the first American I've met in Barcelona. That's never going to happen. Just like in New York, like who can show up to New York and be exotic? Like it doesn't
Yeah.
exist. Like I don't care where you came from. You could have came from Kazakhstan. They're like, yeah, I met a Kazakh before, right? But if you're in some of the smaller cities, yeah, you can get that wow factor now. See, I'm giving away secrets, man. Y'all need to cash
You're
app
gonna have
this
to get
man. Y'all,
consultations or something from you, or
yeah,
go to
man,
the
for
Patreon or
for
something.
real, man. I'm giving away too much, but I don't know if I should name specific cities, but there are certain smaller regions and smaller cities where, yes, you are going to be the first Black American they've ever met before, and that's going to give you certain points out there because yeah, I mean, I don't have to go down and list the name of artists, but there are certain hip hop artists and just international artists who are very popular in Spain. And if they can associate you with that, then that's all good. Of course, if you're a taller brother, they're gonna assume the NBA thing, man. I remember I was in this club and there were these two girls and they were just like wow. And I'm not that tall. I mean, I'm not like NBA tall. I'm above
I
average
thought
height.
you were tall. You look tall.
I mean, well, there's levels. Like, I mean, I'm not NBA tall. I'm not 6'5" or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm over 6 foot. I'm over 6 foot. But I'm not like 6'5" or anything.
Um,
But yeah, they were coming up to me like, damn, what team do you play for? Because a lot of them, the Black American dudes that they see that are actually living in Spain that aren't just like tourists, they're there to hoop because basketball is very big in Spain. It's one of the
yeah,
biggest,
it's huge in Spain.
I think, European countries when it comes to basketball. They really love basketball. After soccer, like Barcelona's basketball team is like legendary among Spanish people. Madrid too. They have a big like league for basketball.
I think
So a lot of
Luca.
times,
Which is
what's
the
that?
NBA? Which is the NBA player that came from Madrid? Is it Luca or who is it? Is it Luca from the Mavericks?
I get confused because I know
I get confused with both of them.
There's some Argentinian ones who play in the NBA. So I confuse who's like who, like Manu Ginobili. Was he RG? I think he was Argentinian though, not
Yeah, Ginobili. I think is Argentinian, but there's a guy
Paul
now
Gasol. Paul
that's
Gasol, right?
yeah,
Gasol
Paul
was
Gasol.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's
he's
Spanish,
Spanish.
I think.
He's
Yeah,
Spanish.
yeah. Yeah, so the culture is huge. Like even among, I know we're not talking about guys, but like among Spanish guys, a lot of times if you're a taller Black dude, they were like, "Yo, you play ball?" Because yeah, the NBA is really big. They have a strong NBA culture in Spain. So yeah, for the taller brothers, man, you guys are gonna eat in Spain for sure. If you like 6'1" or above, something like that, they're gonna assume you're a basketball player, and that's just extra points, man. What else did you ask me? I forgot. You said I forgot what the question was.
No, I think you
You said
answered
it's
it. It was just about the
yeah,
wow
okay.
factor. Like if there's like a wow factor,
Yeah,
like
yeah, for
from
sure.
like who
If
who's still
you're a
club.
taller brother, if you're a little bit swole, either of those, yeah, you are definitely gonna get that extra wow factor. But in like I said, in the big cities, be realistic. Don't just show up out of shape or whatever and in Barcelona and just think they're gonna run to you because you're American. Like that doesn't really work. In any big city. They're not gonna be surprised because you're not the first one they've met.
One last thing I want to say before we move on to the comments. I just want to
Okay.
squeeze this in before I forget it. But one thing about Spanish women is that because a lot of American men have this whole misconception that I'm gonna go in there, they're gonna fall for me because they want to come to America, they want to live in America, da, 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 da. But Spanish women don't. They actually want to stay in
Nah,
Spain. They want to stay in Spain.
nah,
They don't want to come to America. They're trying to visit America, but they don't want to live in
sure.
America. Well, why
Yeah, yeah.
Spain is like in terms of lifestyle. I haven't really been anywhere in the world, maybe besides Brazil, that is that top tier when it comes to lifestyle, man. Like there's just so much to do, so much to see. Cost of living is low, the food is great, party central everywhere, drink siesta. Why would you want to move out of that? So I feel like if you're an American that thinks, I'm American, I got my blue passport, I can get these chicks want to come over to America. Good luck with that, man. In Spain, I'm not trying to like lie to you guys either, man, because a lot of these girls don't want to go to America. They want to stay in Spain.
Yeah, a lot of girls and just Spanish in general, it's a family culture. So a
Mhm.
lot of times they wouldn't even want to separate from their family to go to any country, not even just the States. It's like they want to be accessible to their abuelas. They still want to, go to their granny's village out in the middle of nowhere to see her every summer. Like it's something they look forward to. And it's a very strong social circle culture in Spain. So it's very common to see groups of mixed girls and guys out in the club, like, you know, a bunch of, let's say, 22-year-olds, and it's like 5 guys and 5 girls, and they show up to the club together, and they're all in the same university or whatever type social circle. So yeah, they're really into their own culture, and it would take a lot for them to go overseas. Now, the only exception to that might be, you know, people who are just like very career driven. Like the difference is this. I'll put it like this. So the Latinas, not all, but the ones who are like, I need that blue passport because I want to move
Yeah.
to the States.
Yeah.
It's usually because they want to go to the States and chill. Now,
Mhm.
the type of Spaniard who would want to go to the States, they trying to go to the States and like boss up, like level up. And I mean
Facts.
that like, you know, maybe they work an IT job, and they know if they go to the States and do an IT job, they're gonna level up like financially, or, you know, maybe they're into design and they want to do something with fashion. Then if you're like, okay, I live in New York, they might be like, oh shit, you know, this is my entryway to New York. But those are rare circumstances. In general, in the States, have you met many Spaniards, like ever, like even for tourism?
No, and the ones that I have met in America actually moved back to Spain. Like a lot of them,
Mhm.
like I've spoken to some Spaniards out here in America, and they're like, "Man, I don't like it here. Like, I want to go back to Spain." They ended up going right back to Spain. Like, so no, there's not too many Spaniards here in America. Now that I think about it, shit, no, because and why
Yeah,
why would they like? Because it's just they have it so good over there. I mean, the only thing about Spain is I think all right, the cost of living is low, but also the salaries aren't that great. So I
yeah,
like you said, there's a lot of ambitious folk out there that do want to come to America to make better salary, but even when they do come here, they're like, I'm not trying to like stay out here. I want to go back to Spain.
yeah,
So
exactly.
there's that.
Yeah, the only times I really met Spanish people in the States was in Las Vegas. Like, cause you know, Spanish love to party.
Yeah.
Several times, man, I had
Miami.
some fun nights with some Spaniards in Las Vegas, man. It goes down. Like the ones who come, they come to really, you know, live it up and have the full experience. You feel me?
Man, you know what I miss so much, Jay? I miss being in my apartment late at night, 4 a.m. in the morning, and hearing fucking a bunch of Spanish people in a group, fucking like singing and chanting. Because they like to sing in groups and shit. They be
Oh yeah.
like the flamenco stuff, and they be doing that and dancing and being
And
rowdy
another,
and cracking jokes.
yeah, yes, sir, all day. And another big thing about Spain is the festivals.
Yeah.
So if you're coming to Spain, whatever month you have free time or whatever, look at the calendar and do a little bit of research and find out what festivals are going on, because basically 8 months out of the year, there's festivals somewhere in Spain. Whether you're going to Madrid, whether you're going to like the south, and like, you know, man, everyone knows about the running of the bulls, right? That's a famous one in
Oh, I
Pamplona,
would love to do
where,
that.
you know, people just, they in the streets, they running from the bulls and stuff like that. Like there's so many things like that. That's just one example. Valencia has one. It's called Las Fallas that they do. I believe it's in May every year. That is nuts. I can't even explain it here. Like I don't want to take up too much time, but that one is worth going to. Sevilla is like one of the king cities in Spain for just festivals, man. April and May in Sevilla is so lit. I can't even describe it, man. It's just unforgettable. And this is all over Spain. So if you're gonna come, and do a little bit of research and find out when these different events are going, because it's just going to be that much more of an experience, and you're going to have that many more memories from your time in Spain if you can line it up with one of these festivals. And they're usually not expensive. It's just planning and making sure you're there during that time.
All right, so Jay, let's go over these comments. Then I have two last questions for you, and then we'll wrap it up.
All
But
right.
Season Swag says, "Have you been to San Sebastian or Rota?"
I haven't been to San Sebastian. San Sebastian is in the north in the Bilbao region.
Yeah.
Um, no, I haven't been up that way. Rota is, excuse me, is in the south. That's near Cadiz. Cadiz is another city that's really cool that it's slept on. It's in the south, and I haven't been to Rota proper, but Rota proper is only, I don't know, 15 minutes, 20 minutes from Cadiz. So I've been to Cadiz to answer that question.
All right. Ozzy says, "Okay, which region has the least attractive women?"
My man want the dirt, man. So the least
Mhm.
attractive women I've heard. is in the País Vasco, which is in the north, which is where Bilbao is. I've heard those are the ugliest women in Spain.
Stay
I
away from
cannot
that.
confirm or deny because I haven't been there, but based on the receipts that I've seen, I think there's some truth to that. Yeah, I think that's probably where the ugliest women are.
Ozzy then says, people don't realize Spain has 47 million people, so many different flavors. Facts.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Yeah,
yep. And a
that's what
lot
I'm
of those
telling
are
you.
immigrants, man. I'd say
Mhm.
probably 8% of that is probably immigrants.
I'm telling you, man. Spain has a variety, man. Don't sleep on Spain, man. Don't sleep over there, man. It says, Romeo says, where do Dominicans hang out in Barcelona?
That's for me, or I wasn't sure. You gonna answer that
Yeah.
one?
So I mean, I guess I can comment on that a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know too much about where Dominicans hang out in Barcelona, but all I remember was when I was in the train station, what's it called? Sants, I think it is, Barcelona Sants. There was a
Mhm.
ton of Dominicans there. And even when I went into town, there's a lot of Dominicans, but I think Madrid had more Dominicans. Like anywhere I went in
Yeah,
Madrid, I
for
met
sure,
a Dominican there.
for
And the
sure.
thing
Madrid
is,
has more. Yep.
it's interesting in Madrid because, or just Spain in general, because when you meet a Dominican in Spain, they don't have the typical Dominican accent. They have the Spanish accent. So it's weird. It's like, all right, you speak Spanish, like the accent, but you still, eat the rice and beans and dance
Yeah,
bachatas.
yeah.
I thought it was a little strange, but I guess you can comment on that more than I can because you probably know Spain way more better than I do.
Yeah, yeah, that is funny too. Is like you said about them when people Latinos have the Spain accent, it really messes you up, man. It's
For
kind of
real.
like, yeah, it's kind of like I remember I met a Chinese dude. This was in America. He was a Chinese dude, but he had an Australian accent, and that it just blew my mind. Like, how are
Mhm.
you Chinese, but you're like, "All right, mate, welcome." Like, it's just you're not expecting it. Like your brain cannot put it
Mhm.
together. Um, but so in Sevilla, there's actually a little Dominican area in Sevilla. I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's not in the old center. It's like a little bit north of that. I'm trying to think of the name. There's several Dominican restaurants and barbershops and stuff. But he asked specifically about Barcelona. I think El Reval has some in Barcelona. There's some Dominicans there. And what's that touristy area called? Um, Damn, what's the name of it? You know the one it's like central in Barcelona? I'm trying to think of it. Oh man. It's like
Co-
it's like a 20-minute walk, 15 minutes from the beach.
So
Ah man, I can't think of it.
you
It's like
have
one of the most famous.
La Ramblas area. You have all that.
Yeah, not Las
Um,
Ramblas. I'm trying to think of the name
then
of it,
you
but is it the Barrio Gothic? It's the Gothic area. Did you
the
go there?
Gothic Quarter.
Yeah, did you go there?
Yeah, I went. It was really nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
Gothic
yeah.
Quarter. Yeah.
And so near the Barrio Gothic, there's I know there's several Dominican like businesses. I don't know if that's like where they actually live, like residential. Maybe they live somewhere else and commute in because it's cheaper. But
Mhm.
around there, you can definitely find like a Dominican barber shop. You can find Dominican food and stuff like that. Like I don't think you're gonna have trouble finding Dominicans in Barcelona. I mean, just type in like Dominican restaurant and like you'll get a whole bunch of matches. Same thing with barbershop. And in Madrid, they're everywhere. Like
Yeah.
it's not hard to find them in Madrid, man.
Yeah. Almost
Um,
every restaurant I went in, those Dominicans there. I'm like, what is going
yeah,
on?
they are definitely they have a strong presence in Madrid all day.
Romeo also says a woman that's genuinely interested makes everything easy for you to maneuver. Yeah, facts. Yeah,
Yeah,
that,
and that's the thing, man. In Spain, when they choose you, you'll know it. You'll definitely know it.
yeah. And in Spain, they could be a little aggressive. Like I said, bro, I was with my girl and
Mhm.
my ex at the time, and she's Russian, so she speaks English and Russian, but she didn't speak any Spanish. And I think they picked up on that, and they tried to hit on me in front of her. And this happened several
Wow,
times, bro. Like
wow.
one of the hostesses, she was Spanish, bro, and she's like, "Hola, chico." Like they be saying "chico" a lot, and she'll be speaking to me, and I'm over here like, "Damn, she bad as hell." But I got my girl next to me over here, bro. She wanna fuck me up, bro. Let me chillax real quick. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, they the slang is different, man. They say "tio" too. Did
yeah,
you keep
I had a
that? Yeah.
yeah. They be saying they have their own little slang with it, but I had to fight every urge. You know what I mean? Because you still a man at the end of the day. Like you got your girl and you love your girl. But at the same
You got
time,
eyes, man. You got
you
eyes.
know what I mean? Like us men, there's other beautiful women out there, you know what I mean? And I can say this now that I'm single, but at that time I felt so bad. But these girls didn't give no damn. You know what I mean? They didn't give no damn. But Young Villain says, can you compare the women in Spain to the women in South Africa? So I'm assuming that's for you, Jay.
Yeah, that's gotta be for me.
Yeah, I haven't been to South Africa
Wow.
yet.
Two I was gonna say it's two different planets, but maybe they're not that different in some ways because how do I put this? So bodies, right? So Spanish women have some of the curviest bodies in all of Europe. You can argue with me about that all day. I'm going to win that argument. Okay. The receipts will show it that, especially in the southern parts of Spain, along the coastlines, man, they got African blood, man. There's no other way you can explain like when their body's just like an ocho. Like, where else does
Mhm,
that come from? It didn't come from Northern Europe. I'll tell you that
mhm.
much. So yeah, you can definitely find some very nice looking shapes in Spain and of course South Africa, man. I don't know if anywhere in the world can honestly hold up to some of the stuff I saw in South Africa. I'm just like, that's natural. Like, I mean, my eyes were popping out of my head sometimes, especially in Johannesburg, more than anywhere else, I'll say.
That's South
Uh,
and yeah, that's South Africa, right?
but yeah, that's the capital, kind of the capital. It's the biggest city anyway. Um, Now, when it comes to personalities, they're both kind of westernized because South Africa is really westernized for an African country, and in Spain too, it's westernized. But at the same time, I think in both places you do have a little bit of traditionalism still in there, especially if you get away from the biggest cities. The women know how to cook. Like Spanish women still do cook, and same with South African women. I think those are kind of the main comparisons. Obviously, you're dealing with whiter women in Spain. I mean, it's still Europe. In South Africa, you've got a lot of flavors. You've got mixed race women. They call them colored. They're like half black, half white, or half Malaysian, half white, or whatever. Lots of mixed race people in South Africa, more than you would have in Spain. Spain, surprisingly, someone had left me a comment on this on one of my videos years ago. He was like, what's the deal with the Afro Spanish women, right? And I was like, there's really not any that I've met. Like, so you have African women who live in Spain. You have some Afro Latinas, not that many, but you don't have really any. Like, my dad is Spanish and my mom is like
Yeah.
African, and I'm mixed race. Like, that's so rare in Spain. Like, there are some, but it's just like this percentage wise. Um, but if you just want like I said, Afro Latinas, yeah, there's Dominican women all over Spain. Um, Maybe a little bit of like Cuban women, not many, but a few. Um, I think those would be like the
And
most
Brazilian
black.
women too. There's Brazilian
Yeah,
women out
Brazilian women too. There's some, especially like in what is it called, Malaga. Malaga actually has a lot of Brazilian women. I was surprised that they go there instead of like Portugal. There's some in Portugal too. But yeah, I think those are the main differences that I noticed. Oh yeah, I will say this too is that, well, no, they're actually pretty similar because in my experience, South African women, they're not like gold diggers. They're not really looking at you from a lens of like, okay, I want you to take me back to your country and like, what can you do for me? They're more like, if I like you, I'm gonna really rock with you. That's been my experience with South African women all over the country. And that's the same thing in Spain. Like, I've never had a Spanish woman who like had her hand out and was like, you're from the States. We don't earn much money here. Not saying that's the case, like, can you do something for me? Like, the women I dated in Spain who were like actual Spanish, one of them was a physical therapist. One of them, her family came from money. Like, her pops was doing it good, like doing it real big. You know what I'm saying? She was not going to look to me for anything. And I'm trying to think of the other women. The other one was a teacher, like, good, like professional jobs that are stable where they don't have their hand out. You know what I'm saying? I never had an experience where I was like, damn, she's just using me for my money. She's trying to
there.
take me to like the most fancy, most expensive everything just because I'm a foreigner. Like, I've
Yeah.
never had that experience in South Africa. I've never had that experience in Spain.
Dropping a lot of gems, man. Ozzy says, this has been a great stream. Thank you, Ozzy. I appreciate the feedback. Romeo says, Paul Gasol, yeah, he's Spanish.
Yep,
And then this answers the question we had earlier. So, yes, Luka Doncic played for Real Madrid. Yeah, so he came from Real Madrid. He's the biggest player, I think, that came out of Real Madrid. And then Romeo says, can you name the top 3 clubs in Barcelona for reggaeton and hip hop? And
that's
I
for
guess you
you.
can answer this. I guess you can answer this one because I was so drunk, bro. I didn't even remember the clubs.
Yeah, I don't even know, man. The names of venues change all the time, and top clubs change all the time. Barcelona is a big club city. Most of the beach clubs are going to, well, I said most of the beach clubs are going to be by the beach, but yeah, most tours to the city are going to end up in the beach clubs, and pretty much all of the beach clubs will play reggaeton that I went to, unless it's like a straight up EDM club, which I don't think there's that many pure EDM clubs, unless you're like really, really into that and looking for that. So it's not going to be hard to find reggaeton anywhere in Spain. That's like the
It's
dominant music.
everywhere.
Yeah, come on. I
Um,
mean, you're gonna hear. Well, I won't name artists, but yeah, all the major artists that you would hear in a reggaeton club in Colombia, you know, whoever that is, you're gonna hear the same stuff in Spain. Spain is a huge market for reggaeton, huge.
yeah, and they have their own reggaeton out there too. Like it's not like because a lot of people think that Spanish people are just listening to Latin American artists, right? Like because
Mhm.
some Latinos get like annoyed because uh I'm trying to formulate this the right way. But when it comes to music, Latinos dominate, Spanish music. Puerto
Mhm.
Ricans, Dominicans, Caribbean folk, we
Yes.
dominate Spanish music. And there's not that many like actual Spaniards that make great music that's mainstream that's actually crossing over to the US. But as of recent, there has been like Rosalia being one of them. I can
Yep.
go down the list. Quevedo, I don't know if you ever heard of Quevedo, but I'm a fan of his. Psycho, there is a decent amount of Spanish artists that are breaking through finally. So they do have their own stuff. It's not like they're just, using our music. You know what I mean? They got their
True,
own
true.
music in Spain too.
Yeah, and it's funny that he said like reggaeton and hip hop because in Spain they actually have hip hop, but it's like their local hip hop,
Yeah.
and that probably shocks a lot of Black Americans. You know, that in most European countries, not just Spain, they have a big local hip hop scene. Like if you go to France, they got
Oh,
French rappers, like
bro,
huge French
French
rappers.
rap is where is it? I fuck with French rap.
Yeah, you know, like Maitre Gims and some other
Mhm.
people. Yeah, so you know, in the States, we'll never hear of these artists. Like they just are not on our radar. But like there's a little bit of a hip hop scene, especially among like the young Spanish dudes who like, of course, they don't rap in English, they rap in Spanish, and it's like Spain Spanish. And it's not reggaeton, it's their own kind of hip hop or whatever. Um, so yeah, that shares space with the American, you know, hip hop or international type stuff. But yeah, man, you're gonna find it. Don't worry. That those are like the number one musics everywhere. So pretty much every club is gonna be a reggaeton club on some level.
Young Villain says Q for J. Can you do a brief comparison between Cape Town and uh Johannesburg? I'm assuming it is in South
Yeah,
Africa. Trying to
exactly.
decide which city to visit first.
Okay. So Cape Town is the most American, most European feeling city in Africa, not just in South Africa, in the whole freaking Africa. So if you've never been to Africa before and you might be a little bit nervous or you're looking for something kind of familiar, then I would say Cape Town is going to win. Cape Town is the best way I could describe it is it's kind of a California feel to it because you've got the beaches, you've got that kind of a landscape. You got palm trees and all that kind of thing. It's like beachy vibes. There's stoner vibes. If you like to smoke, man, there are dispensaries. Like you can walk in there, no ID, no anything. They will sell you whatever you need if that's what you like to do. Uh, they have that in Joburg too, but in Cape Town, I think it's just more of like that stoner, like California West Coast kind of vibes out there. So if that seems like that appeals to you, I would say Cape Town. And also Cape Town is a more diverse city in some ways. Like you're gonna have way, 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 way more white people in Cape Town. You know, maybe that's something that you don't care about. Maybe that's something that you are more open to. But yeah, if you don't mind being around like a lot of white people in Africa, then Cape Town would be cool for you. Um, there's more mixed race people in Cape Town as well. Now, Joburg is think of Joburg as more of like Atlanta, and think of Cape Town as more like San Francisco. I think that's probably the best analogy I could do for the states. So Joburg is very black, but it's cool. You know, it's a very you know, open, friendly vibe. You know, as long as you are smart about it and you're not going to go to the hood, don't stay in the city center in Joburg. Again, do not stay in the city center. Stay near one of the big malls. You could stay near Sandton Mall, Sandton, or you can stay by Rosebank Mall, Rosebank. Those two places, you're not going to go wrong in Joburg. So yeah, just with that information, I think you can make your decision.
All right. And let's just wrap it up with a couple more comments, and then I have one last question for you, Jay.
All right.
So Romeo says, where's the best place to stay for someone visiting Barcelona for the first time?
What do you think about that?
So my opinion, because I stayed the first time, I stayed literally in the Gothic Quarter. The second time I stayed in what is the name of that place? It's distant from the beach. I forgot the name of it. It's damn it, I forgot the name of that of
Yeah,
that area.
I'm like sneaking to look at a map right now because I'm like, hold on,
Literally, I'm about to look at a
let
map
me
myself. Stuff because
let me double
it's
check
gonna
the
kill me if
name
I don't
because
know
I
it.
would hate to like say the wrong name and then they be like, man, he gave me some bad information.
But I did honestly, I would say I'd recommend try to stay close to the beach, try to stay somewhere close to the Gothic Quarter. It is going to be pricey because that's the thing about Barcelona is stay is very expensive. It's pricey in
Yeah,
Barcelona, and that's because of
for
all the
sure.
tourism. Madrid
Yep.
is much more cheaper because not as many tourists go over there. So Madrid, you could get an amazing place for a whole week for $500, 500 US dollars. In Barcelona, you're looking at 1,000 plus for a week.
Mhm.
And it's not even the best spot. You may have to share a bathroom. So, guys, if you are an Airbnb, make sure to check to see if it's not a shared bathroom. Because if it's a shared bathroom, that's a second situation. So just got to
Yeah,
make sure.
that's all bad, especially if
Make
you bring
sure
a
of that.
female back. Nah,
Yeah,
that's
bro, you're
that's
not
not
trying to
it.
have a shared bathroom. What the hell? I'm looking at the map, man, because I'm really
Was
trying
it
to.
was it Gracia? Is that where you stayed at?
Nah, it's what is it called? Damn it. You know what?
Was it Poble Sec?
It might have been that. It might have
That's a
been
good
that.
area. I like Poble Sec
It
and El
might have been.
Raval too. Those are nice because they're not too far from the beach, but it's not like right at the beach where they're gonna like kill you with the prices.
Yeah, so the thing is, bro, I couldn't find like affordable places by the beach, which is where I wanted to be at by the Gothic Quarter. Like most of those places were like $1,000 plus, and they weren't even the best places. I found a hotel room that was solid for almost, it was I think it was like 700, and it's a little bit, it's a couple block. I mean, it is a walk. It's a 20-minute, 15-minute walk to get to the beach. But I was like, there's
Mhm.
no way I'm gonna be paying 1,000 plus for a rundown apartment just to be close to the
Sure.
beach. I
Yeah.
refuse to pay that much. But Ozzy says, well, actually, you know what? You can answer because I don't think you answered yet about the
Okay, yeah. So where's
Barcelona.
the best place to stay for someone
Yeah.
visiting Barcelona for the first time? He got a lot of questions, man. He about to book a ticket right now, it seemed like. Um, so the first time I went to Barcelona, I stayed in Sant Martí. No one told me to stay there. I just stayed there. That is probably going to be a little bit cheaper if you can find a place there because it's a little more residential. So they don't have tons of Airbnbs in that area. But if you can find one, you could probably get a really good value there compared to some other areas. And everything's reasonably accessible. Like Uber's not too crazy. And Barcelona has a very good subway system too.
Yeah.
So if you want to get like a Metro pass, like if you're gonna stay at least a week, I'd say it could be worth it. If you're gonna stay like 3 days or 4 days, nah, it's probably not worth it. But that's one way that you could save money and you know have your apartment a little bit further out, but still have access to everything because the buses and subway and stuff runs pretty much all night. So it's not a situation where you're like, oh, I got stuck or whatever. And then of course you still have Uber and Bolt and all the other things that they have out there. And also the bike system. I didn't mention this, but one cool thing about Barcelona is they have a kind of pay as you go bike system, which is really cheap. They have an app. It's called um, Shit, it's called Donkey Republic. It's a weird ass name, and I'm like, are they making fun of Dominican Republic or whatever? But I don't know if you've seen this ad. I don't know if you've seen
I've
this ad,
never
but
had.
oh yeah, it's weird, man. But it's called Donkey Republic, and they have these bikes all over the city and they just like leave them. So you have your QR code on your app and you just scan it and then you can just hop on the bike. Like it'll release. You can drive it and then wherever you're done with it, like if you go to a restaurant on the other side of town, you just drop the bike there and you're done with it. You check out and you pay your $2 or whatever it costs for the bike. And it's a very bikeable city, very easy to get around by bike. So I kind of recommend that to people. That's what I did last time when I was there. I mainly use the bike to get around, and just like the Uber to get to the airport and back. You know, so I would say the first time I stayed in San Martin, not a bad neighborhood. It's not the closest, but like I said, you have other transportation options. Now, Barceloneta is where I stayed the last time when I was in Barcelona.
Right next to
That's
the
if you
beach.
got a, what's that?
Right next to the beach, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's if you got a little bit more money. Barceloneta, man, you're walking distance to the sea. You're walking distance to, they have supermarkets and pretty much everything, man. That's like you're in the spot, the clubs. You've got Pasha at the beach. That's one of the big clubs. See, now I got my map in front of me. I can really like break it down for y'all. Opium, that's another good one, right by the beach, as far as nightlife. And you could walk there from Barceloneta. Good restaurants. You got acai bowls. If you
Ooh,
ever had acai bowl, like Brazilian style, like in Rio, they have those there. That it's good. So yeah, if you got the money, Barceloneta is going to be the clutch move. But you don't have to be there to have a good time. You can um, you can stay in Gracia. Gracia is a nice neighborhood, very well connected. You've got all the subway lines cross there, and you got malls, you got shopping, you got everything, man. Uh, I think that sums it up.
yeah, but also, guys, in terms of transportation, Barcelona to me is a very walkable city. And it's fun to walk around Barcelona. There's so much
Yeah,
like amazing landmarks, areas.
yeah,
Like I
you
found out,
discover stuff.
yeah, I found out about so much cool shit just walking around. Like it's not like America where you got to take cars everywhere, you got to drive everywhere. You know,
Mhm.
in Europe, it's more walkable. You can, especially, I love walking around Seville, especially.
Yeah,
But like you could walk around anywhere, guys. So like that's another thing. You want to get your steps in, whatever the case, you could do that. You want to take Uber, you could do that. Public transportation is top notch in Spain. I love it, but there's a lot of different ways to get around town, ladies and gentlemen. But I guess this will be the last question in terms of the comments.
mhm.
Jay, did you go north to either Vigo or Girona?
No, no, I didn't. You know me, I'm a tropical type of brother. I like to go to the warmer places. Now you can hit those northern cities and they'll be warm, but that's only in the summertime. Like the whole rest of the year, it's northern Europe type weather. You know, even though it's still Spain, since it's so far up north, you get a lot of rain in the northern parts and you know, cold. And I try to avoid the cold as much as possible.
Cool. All right. So then I think that's the last question of the comments.
Okay.
We have a essay all day. Um Romeo says, I don't mind paying for quality. Yeah, I'm the same way,
Hey,
but sometimes it gets to a point where it's like, all right, bro, why am I paying 1,000 plus for this rundown? And that's the thing. A lot of these Barcelona Airbnbs are kind of run down. Um, Romeo says, Jamie and Jay, salute brothers, great content. Thank you so much, brother, man. It's been a great time. And that's it, man. You convinced him. He's going to
yeah.
Barceloneta.
Hey, you won't regret it.
Facts, but you're right next to the beach. You pull a chick, just walk on over to your crib. It's right there, you know.
Mhm.
Like so,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, you have a lot
Yeah,
of
the
fun.
people watching is going to be crazy because you're going to see literally everything on the beach.
Everything, bro. I love Barcelona with a passion and Seville, just Spain in general. But the last question I have for you, Jay, I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Mhm.
The title of this live stream was Spain is the most slept on country in for passport bros. That is. So I guess it's a two-part question. So, why is Spain so slept on, and why should people go to Spain?
I think Spain is probably slept on because of the perception, right? Of that it's Europe, they're white people, which they are, right?
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of people in the States are used to American white people, right? And so they're kind of like, I know they throw around the term the matrix a lot, right? So
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are just like, why would I go from one matrix to another matrix? And like I'm not here to sell people a dream. Spain is a westernized country. Let's get that out there, right away. But if you can thrive, or let's not even say thrive, if you can if you can pull women in a city like Washington, D.C., you can pull them in a city like Las Vegas, New York, what have you. It's going to be easier to do the same thing with your same tools, whatever you bring to the table in a place like Spain because of your exotic factor, because of the variety, and the fact that the Spanish vibe is just very unique. Like things are different. A lot of people don't realize or think about how different the game changes when you're in Spain. Like even small things, like in the States, you have to be 21 to drink, right? That may seem like a small thing, but that keeps all the younger people out of the bar scene, the nightlife, et cetera, et cetera. So the older women don't have to compete as much with the younger women. So in Spain and in Europe, 18 means you can drink or whatever. So you got like all varieties of ages. So it just leads to more of like a funner environment. And like I said, everyone is competing. Like the women from, 30, they're still competing with the 18-year-olds and on some level, right? When you're all in the same nightclub together. And there's just a different energy. Like in the States, a lot of cities, a lot of states, they have a last call law where at 2 o'clock you can't sell alcohol. At 3 o'clock you can't sell alcohol. In Spain, none of that exists. So if you're a partier, you're gonna love Spain. You're just gonna feel unhinged. The safety factor is different from the States. You don't have to worry about getting into a fight in the club and then some dude is gonna pull out a gun in the parking lot. Stupid foolishness like that happens in the States. It doesn't even cross your mind over in Europe. And that environment makes women more comfortable. It makes it more fun for guys. And it's just a different vibe, man. I don't know what else I can say about that. What was the second part of the question? You said, why should they go to Spain?
Yeah.
Um, Also, I just will say, compared to some other places that are really popular in Latin America and around the world, you have, on some level, less of a cultural barrier. Yes, the culture is very different. But the fact that it's still a westernized culture on some level, you can relate to the women a little bit more, and not just the Spanish women. Like I said, you got Swedish women who come to vacation in Spain. They're just looking to have fun and they're going to go back to their country. Just like 9 times out of 10, you're looking to go to Spain, have some fun, and go back to your country. So Spain is a vacation place. Think of Spain as the Miami of Europe, the Florida of Europe. It has warm weather most of the year, and a lot of people are just flying there for a short time. They're trying to have fun, you're trying to have fun, which is different than when you fly into a place like Medellin or a lot of other places in Latin America where they're at home. They're at their 9 to 5. They have school during the week or whatever. So it's not like so lit the nightlife every single day of the week because there's not really the kind of people to support it. There's not that kind of a vibe. Like westernized women don't really flock to a lot of the places um, for that vacation vibe. And I know a lot of people are like, well, I'm trying to get away from Western women. I feel you. I got you on that. But a lot of guys like Playa del Carmen, for example, because that's a place that it's not America, but you kind of got where the worlds come together. You've got Westerners who come down from Canada, from the States, etc. And then you also got girls who come from Latin America and Europe, and they kind of meet in this place that's not the West, but it has enough safety and fun and the same kind of vibes and energy. Well, Spain is kind of a continuation of that. So if you're looking for something different, Spain is definitely something different.
Jay, I have to tell you this, man. Thank you so much for coming on, man. Like you had a wealth of knowledge. I think everyone appreciates everything you had to say here, man. I learned a lot. just by like hearing you speak, man. And I thought I knew a little bit about Spain, man, but there's still so much I didn't know, man. So it was definitely a pleasure to have you on here, man. I'd love to have you on for a future date, maybe to talk about a whole different country since you've been to a ton of them. Uh, but ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up Real Talk. This episode, which is number 14, it wraps it up. We'll be back again for 15 tomorrow with Flight Madness. We're going to be talking about China. But this was a very special episode, man. Shout out to Jay for coming through, man. And that pretty much wraps it up, ladies and gentlemen. We're out of here. And until next time, take care, everybody.
All right, y'all.
Stay focused.
Jay focused.